Hello, everyone.
Oh my god,
I didn't expect to be the host of this show. I think Evie forgot to unmute himself. So
he wasn't a forgot for whatever reason. I
yeah,
feel like it's like a movie scene where you like the door is closing or like the gate is closing and you're trying to like sit past through. Like I feel like there's a split second where I'm supposed to unmute in time, and for whatever reason, it just takes so much longer than I think it does. It's very weird, but I am
you're right,
unmuted.
bro. Are you good?
I don't know. Is anyone ever all right?
No.
Right. Well, folks,
Hello,
whatever this
everyone.
is, whatever this is, it's happening live. WrestlePurists worldwide, folks, and we're gonna just talk about pro wrestling. It's Monday. It's the new time slot. This 5 o'clock hour time slot. I don't know how long this continues, but for right now, we're just gonna continue to ride the edge of this lightning bolt until it crashes. And right now, I like it. So 5:15 ish start allegedly, and we're gonna talk about Sabu, the legendary, the legendary um, innovator that passed away yesterday. We will remember Sabu. I will tell some Sabu stories. I will remember Sabu, my personal memories as a fan of Sabu. We'll talk some Sabu. We'll also talk to Joe Holbert about his genius, brilliant wrestling pitch that he's been lamenting and thinking all week long.
You have to split those two up more, bro.
You think so?
Yeah. And it can't be, because we're a radio show now, right? We have guests and stuff.
Yeah.
So what you just did was, I will do a segment about the iconic Sabu. Joe Holbert will do a segment about the Alexa Bliss Charlotte Flair angle. That's what you just did to me there. There needs to be a middle ground. I feel. Should have
Yeah,
done like a raw interlude to get us from A to B.
that's a good point. It's a good
Yeah,
point.
from the top.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WrestlePurists Worldwide. I'm your host, Ibu of WrestlePurists, and I'm joined as usual by my co-host, Joe Holbert. Anna's not here today. Our beloved co-host, Anna. She's out of town, so she couldn't make this town. So it's literally just going to be me and Joe in our bullshit today with no one to check it. Because Anna is the balance of our bullshit.
Yeah.
So she's not here. We miss Anna. Hopefully she'll be back in time for next week. And we're going to do our thing. We're going to talk Sabu. We're going to talk to you guys. We're going to talk pro wrestling. We'll talk the week ahead. Fallout from Backlash, the show that I didn't cover last night on WrestlePurists, but if you want Backlash coverage, you can catch it later because Joe and Monty did talk about it extensively. I did watch the show though, so if you guys want my thoughts, I have no issue giving them to you. But we'll just talk pro wrestling. We'll hang out with you guys for the next little bit here. And again, I will give Joe the floor for his extensive, detailed, brilliant pitch for pro wrestling. Heads up, it's about Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. He has an incredible idea for these ladies' futures. An idea that's so good that WWE would be foolish not to take him up on. I said that kind of wrong, kind of right. I don't know what's going on right now. But I'm having fun and I'm vibing. How are you doing today, Joe?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not happy with this Hannah situation.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in this business too long to be getting DMs on the day of the show about like taking less money to get someone else on, I love Anna, but that's not my business, bro. You got to figure that out. I agreed my fee. I signed a contract. But other than that, I'm good. Not thrilled with the way you set me up with that situation there, but I don't want to ask for a third take on the intro, so I'll just accept it. And now we're gonna have fun. I mean, the actual answer is I'm legitimately very good, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the best I've been in about 3 years.
That's awesome to hear.
Something like that, yeah. I'm really good, dude. I'm very happy right now, thankfully. So
from the outside, it does look like you're on fire.
Yeah.
It feels like you're rejuvenated, and when you have a clear head, it helps your creativity. It helps the direction, and then you start like I don't know. I feel it's weird because like when you're cooked, you're still like very astute with your analysis and your observations, but there's a different sharpness when you're clear headed, because like when you're cooked, you kind of shrug your shoulders and you can break down a match you just watched, right? But then you kind of just like move the cobwebs out the way and like just do the next thing. You know what I mean? And just plug away. When you're clear-headed, you'll watch it, you'll break it down, but then you'll also be like, this opens up this possibility, and they should do this. And then like you start getting ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
important.
good stuff, man. We should do 2 hours of this. You just explaining my game.
Yeah, maybe, folks. I think the message today is you should eat breakfast. You know, like you should definitely eat breakfast in the morning.
Yeah, if you want. It depends. Sometimes I have I do have breakfast in the morning, but sometimes I'm doing it after I've done a show because I end the show at like 6 a.m.
Mm.
So then I have which I don't even know if that's breakfast at that point. I guess it is, right?
I don't know. I'm an afternoon breakfast eater. So
like, is that breakfast then? Or is that not like lunch or brunch?
it depends on what the food is. I eat eggs at like 2:00. That's breakfast.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff, bro. You see Raw?
The lineup looks good tonight, actually, hilariously. So asking me this the day before, like before.
Look, man, I'm gonna be honest here. People and I circling each other right now. We don't really know what we're doing.
You know what it is? You know what actually? It's like, you know, like those matches where like, oh my god, what does this remind me of? You know when Hogan and Nash circle each other for about like 40 seconds on January 4th, 99 before the finger poke.
Yeah.
And like they're like, we're about to do some bullshit. But like we don't know how to get to it. So it's like, all right.
We thought the crowd was gonna be hotter than this.
Joe, I looked at the audience to see what the house is looking like, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see some tarps.
Do you remember when in the night one main event, the Dwayne All Japan tag that he did? And like the start of the match, they did the big stare downs, and the crowd was just like, God, it's really cold here in Philly.
I'm like, yeah, you know it's fucked with. At minute 12, Joe's like, did you check out Raw?
On Monday afternoon. There's literally not a single wrestling show I could have pivoted to that made less sense than that. It's the show that you review. It's the show that's on in like an hour, you know, like
So,
just
yeah,
useless pivot there.
I covered it 6 days ago on this channel. Oh, Jesus, my back hurts.
Yeah.
Again, folks, we do have 2 topics, you know, but when you got 2 high spots and you got 2 hours to fill, you know, it's, you know, we'll find our way here.
We will.
Let's start with the super chats. I think that'll get the blood flow. You know what I mean? I think that'll.
Well, I do like the money part. Yeah.
Yeah. The money is great, and sometimes people ask good questions. Sometimes.
I guess.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I love the look, man. I mean, let's be honest. Without the super chats, this would just be us talking about breakfast next to us. So, I mean, I'm all for it, really.
Yeah.
You know, all bits aside. But are you on super chat, Jude, today, or am I?
I'll ask the chat. Whose voice do you guys want to hear reading your super chats?
Sabu.
Say Big Joe, please. Your grandson said Ibu Joe right now. You light my fire.
Look, man. Making all the time.
Everyone's saying Anna.
Yeah, fair.
Tyler said this is so cool.
All right, I guess I got it. I got come on. I'll go for it.
Should we triple down and just have a bad show? Or like should we?
You're saying that like we have like options at our disposal. Like we're gonna have a bad show. It's pretty apparent so far. That is a good trust the process is right though. Ibu that way won't zone out. That's true. Sometimes you go and make your breakfast at 6 p.m.
Oh, fucking trust him. You're such a fucking narc.
He's a good worker, bro. I like Trey. We should give him a link. Do you want to come sit? Do you want to come read the super chats?
He said King of the North said both at the same time.
We have done that a few times on this show already, to be fair. So
we're like Shy-Town's Shy-Town's what are you? Shy-Town's first. Like,
all right, you're reading them, bro. Trust the process.
All right, you fucking
goddamn.
Angel Lucia, $10 Canadian. Ibu, saw a tweet. You said this is prime Randy. Do you mean in-ring performances or has a legitimate draw in popularity? I checked the numbers and he's killing it right now in every metric. Well, Randy has never been a super huge draw when it comes to like moving business, even though he's always been popular. When I'm talking about this being Randy's prime, I just mean this is the best he's ever been as a wrestler, in the sense that he has less of the things that I don't enjoy about his game and his matches now, generally speaking. And he just centralizes his approach to what he's good at, basically. His work is really nice to look at. His punches, especially the ones in the corner, are gorgeous. The superplex, the scoop slam. He has the best comeback in wrestling, probably. And the other thing is, on TV, he just feels like real now for like the first time maybe ever. His character now, Joe, is basically just, look, man, I'm Randy Orton. I'm a veteran. I'm a part of the furniture. I did a lot of stupid shit when I was younger in this company, and I made it out of a lot of horse shit. And now I have a kid. I have kids. I have a wife. And I'm happy to still be wrestling, considering I almost retired a couple years ago from my back. That's his character. And his character is just Randy. It's real. I noticed this when he was talking across John Cena. And I was like, one of these people feel real, and the other one doesn't. So I mean this sincerely. I watched his entire career, Joe, in real time. I watched all of Randy's career from day one in real time. And I've never liked him more than I do right now. I've always been like, Randy's, he's good in these situations. He's this and that. This is the most I've ever enjoyed Randy Orton. These last 3
I think
4 years.
liked him is key, because you're talking about full picture. Like, as a character, I agree with you. He's most likable now and does feel most authentic and real. And his matches have crazy heat too, which helps.
Yes.
I think his best is like 2013 when he's working with Dragon. I think that version of him is like a truly elite pro wrestler. I think if you rewatch that now with your kind of different appreciation for Randy, I think you'd really like some of the stuff he did there. Really like it a lot, actually. But, perception has changed with him 101 times, right? But I think he's actual, as a performer, I would say like early 2010s is as good as he ever was. But I think as a character, and the charm to his performances now, I get it, definitely.
Absolutely. But I will say I do like his matches more now. Obviously, like, Bryan Danielson is incredible, and like his chemistry with him was great. His chemistry with Christian was unbelievable. It was all time, But just on a match by match basis, if a Randy Orton graphic drops now, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna check that out, and I'm locked in. I mean, that match.
Have you seen the TV match with Dustin he had back in the day?
No.
You have to watch that match. You would love that match now. So that's like a collision match.
Oh. All right. What? Let me look this up on Cage Match.
It's probably got like a 6.8.
Yeah.
I love that match, dude.
You know what I love, Joe, is before like everyone started using Cage Match, it's funny when people like young fans or newer fans like look up past matches on Cage Match. Like I was just watching ECW with the Self-Maders, right? And we were finishing up Heatwave 98, and it's a tremendous show. And I'm having a really good time with the tag match that I'm going to spotlight later, which is Hayabusa and Shinzaki versus Sabu and Rob. And it's always funny. This happens a lot with the Self-Maders. We'll watch a match that we're all having a great time with, and then these young whippersnappers will just like look it up on Cage Match and basically like, what did people rate this match that I'm having a great time with? And like it's always a fun, like hilarious shock. And like we're watching this match, and someone was like, Dave gave this a 2? And it's like, and for that match in particular, it was like, this is under an 8? And it's like, that's just how Cage Match was, man.
Different, especially Dave was an animal when he was a violent man.
Just imagine like international dream match, RVD and Sabu, Shinzaki and Hayabusa, crowd going nuts, spots and flying all over the place. And Dave just sitting there and going, 2 on this type.
The best Dave ever was the Arn Anderson Steve Regal match that he gave half a star.
And like, didn't Cage Match has like a 6.8 or some shit, right?
That match is good. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like love that match. I don't love it; it's very long. But Dave giving it half a star is insane, dude.
I remember it's like good.
It's good, yeah. I think they go like 30 minutes, so yeah, it has issues, but.
Joe, you want to hear something funny? I forgot Dustin Rhodes' name in WWE was Goldust. And so I literally looked up Dustin versus Randy Cage Match, right? And I clicked one article, one page, and it said Dusty Rhodes versus Randy, and I didn't realize that, and it said 3, and I was like, Jesus, what the fuck?
Could you imagine? Yeah, I think some of that run he is basically just Dustin, but he's dressed as and called Goldust. I think some of that run he takes away like all of the shtick. I think maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure.
So
Yeah,
this match you're talking about with Randy and Goldust, it has a 7.7.
yeah, bro. That's a sexy match, dude. For real.
Wait a minute.
Power slams,
Yeah.
superplexes, punches, rope running.
Every so often, Joe, I have this moment with myself where I stop in my tracks
Yeah.
and I look up and I go, was WWE good in 2013? And then like I begin to feel it and say it, and I'll test it with my brother. I'll just bring it up, and he'll be like, "Shut the fuck up," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right."
This is a big topic of discussion. I mean, it's not all, but we can pretend.
Yeah.
There is a there is a contingent that thinks it's the best in-ring year of the company ever.
I don't know about all that. Let's fuck.
I'm just reporting that. I just report the news here. That's my job. But there is, if you ask the Oracle of Wrestling, he'll say it's the best year ever in the company for in-ring. Which is fascinating because he watched it. Like I haven't seen enough of it, but yeah.
What I'll say is this: if you did a super cut of all the good things, you could trick someone who wasn't there into thinking the company was fucking incredible that year.
I reckon if you were doing just like accumulated star ratings, I reckon it would be up there, because all the Shield 6 fans.
They all get rated like 3.5, 3.75 by Dave on
Yeah.
TV, and like those are fun. Brian is incredible every week.
Yeah.
Punk's big matches are great.
Punk.
Cena was very consistent. Ziggler was a good wrestler.
Orton.
Randy was good.
Fandango.
Yeah, definitely Fandango.
Yeah.
I remember when I watched him versus Jericho the first time, and I was like trying to convince myself he was sick. I don't know why. When I first saw him, right, in that gimmick, I just like talked myself into believing he was going to wrestle like Alex Shelley. Something about him, I'm like, he's going to be.
He was tall. He didn't have to do that.
He had
what was sick about him for real though was he did the Bobby Eaton leg drop off the top, which was like, and he still does it, which is actually cool.
Balls Mahoney did that move. You know what he called it?
I'm gonna guess he didn't call it the Alabama Slam.
No, he called it the
Jam.
New
I should
Jam.
say. What did he call it?
New Jersey Jam.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
The Alabama Slam's a sick move. Very different move.
Yeah.
Bob Holly wasn't in 2013 WWE.
Yeah, he was gone by then. I think he left at some point in 2008.
Yeah, he did. Because didn't he he wanted to kill Ken Anderson for stealing his pills or something?
See, I didn't. It's funny. I became the sheet reading smart just months after. So on TV, I just saw Cody turn on him, and then he was gone.
Yeah. No, I think he tried to steal. Well, if you're watching, feel free. I think he tried to steal Ken's pills. I think, and someone reported it, and he got canned. I think was what happened.
It's always about the pills,
Oh yeah.
Even you
wasn't their candy, brother. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
you did it on air. You just fucking.
Well, it's a tough business on families. 2013 WWE. That was our conversation. That's what we were talking about, wasn't it? Was that what the super chat was about?
I don't know.
Fuck.
I don't know. We're tearing it up here, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll out to the floor again. Go and next super chat.
Bob the Builder, $5. I'm gonna be honest. The first time I ever saw the CA with the dollar sign, I thought it was like. I remember thinking to myself, like when I was on WrestlePurists, I was like, "Does California have its own fucking?
Oh, for fuck's
own fucking?
Come on, bro."
Bob
Jesus.
the Builder, $5. Even when do you expect Cena and Punk to happen? Do you have any good scoops for that match? Much appreciated. Go New York, go New York, go. It's going to happen. People involved are in disagreement with when and where it should happen, which is fascinating. They're just in disagreement with when it should happen. Take that however you want to take that. When Punk is asked about it, he pretends that he doesn't know if it's happening or not, which is godly. Have you seen this, Joe? Anytime they ask him, he goes like, "Look, man, I don't know if it's in the plans. I hope they could fit me somewhere there and I could work John, but it's up to him and it's his call, and I hope it happens."
All I can think about is the poor aggregators that are watching this so they can report that what you just said. And they've been treated to what they've got so far on this show,
If you're listening to this shit, expecting like concrete shit that you could aggregate.
Yeah.
You're at the wrong show, man.
What do you reckon though of the headline of like Joe Holbert says there's a contingent that believes 2013 is the best in-ring year of WWE of all time? That would probably do a good engagement, right?
7 likes and like 4 retweets. Yeah. And then like never. I was gonna say the account that would quote it, but
Evu announces what Balls Mahoney's finish was called.
New Jersey. You know what's funny? This is so like it's so me. You know, I went to my brother the other day, and by other day I mean yesterday. I was telling him like I don't really know where wrestlers are from. Like a lot of people really can memorize height, weight, and origin, right? Yeah. And I was saying that I generally don't. Some of them I do, like Roman, Pensacola, Florida, but generally I don't. But I was saying how like for whatever reason with ECW, I could remember everyone's, and I'm trying to figure out if it's just like how they did their ring introductions or like how the announcers would do it. Because like you throw a name out at me, Rob Van Dam, Battle Creek, Michigan. Sabu, Bombay, India, and then it turned into Bombay, Michigan as a rib. Fucking Balls Mahoney was Nutley, New Jersey. Bam Bam was Ashbury Park, New Jersey. Like it's very just ingrained in my brain. Red Hook section of Brooklyn for Taz.
It's a Joey Styles thing, do you think?
Maybe. I can remember everybody's like origin. You know, it's just interesting.
I reckon the amount of solo announcing Joey did, he probably just used that stuff to fill in the gaps, dude. You know?
Yeah, he would just be like, the beast from the east, from Asbury Park, New Jersey. You're just like, you just remember that, yeah.
I mean, that one had his finish too, right? With the greens. So that one, yeah. That is interesting. I think it's an interesting thing the way announcers like can add kind of detail, and you become familiar with someone's background that way.
Subliminally. You don't even like think about it. Yeah, it's interesting.
Jim Ross was the master of that, right? Oh, like you watch a guy wrestle, and without even realizing it, Jim would give you like a fact file on them, almost to a fault sometimes. And people always joke about the football stuff, right? Like where they played and what the but he was really good at just adding color to all the characters. You know what I think is good at that now is Nigel.
Mm-hmm.
Nigel's really good at that. I think I would argue he's the only announcer who's truly like really good at that because he's descriptive. Like rather than just listing what a guy's done or what they haven't done or where they've been, Nigel will give you like a kind of tonal vibe, you know, like what someone's personality is like. He's very good at that, I think. I think the SmackDown crew does a decent job too.
Who's this SmackDown? Oh, it's
Joe and Wade.
It's crazy, man. Poor Joe, because like he's awesome, but like the 3-hour SmackDown just fucks him up. You know what I mean?
He doesn't have the energy to sustain it, does he?
No, hour 3, he's like Naomi waiting on the sideline here for Jade Cargill to come out, and you can tell he's just so fun.
I like Joe Tess a lot. He's one of the few play-by-play guys I've heard, and I thought he actually might benefit from a 3-man booth. In the sense that I think it maybe would make his job easier if there was a third man to do the excitement. Sometimes when Joe does the excitement, when he feels it, you can tell. Like remember that Io Bianca match he really got into?
Yeah, and it sounded like a fourth quarter of a basketball game.
Right. But then other times he knows he has to be excited, and it just comes off like he's pretending, you know, because he's a real broadcaster. Yeah.
It'll be deep in a 2-star bloodline tag, and he's just like, a Samoan spike! Oh my god! And it's like, all right, man.
Yeah, he would have been. You know, it would have been a fun team if you could like time machine it. Joe Tess and Don West. Can you imagine?
Joe Tess calling TNA would be funny because he'd just be equally popping for the stuff that Don West was. You know,
it's wild to think he does the machine gun matches now.
Yeah, it's just very funny.
16 years after Don West was calling them.
Somehow he gives you the background of them, even though he's not like. I mean, he says he's a wrestling guy, but he wasn't watching TNA, bro. You know, and like
he's such a pro in it. He's gonna look it up.
Joe. It comes off like a guy who just did his hardest to just know everything that he needs to, because they'll be out there wrestling. And he's just like the Motor City Machine Gun stylist, folks. When you watch DIY, when you watch Fraxium, you are watching the Machine Guns, and he'll talk like that, and you know he does that whole deal. It's really well done.
They've tried really hard with that, and I mean that like in a sincere way. I know it sounded like I was being patronizing, but it's something you never would have got before. where they've actually made it part of Machine Gun's gimmick and shtick that like how influential they are.
Yes.
I don't think it really resonates particularly with the audience, to be honest. But I do think it's a cool like wrinkle to try and establish for that are not familiar with them. Kind of the idea of the teams you watch now, you didn't realize it, but they actually were inspired by these guys who you're just meeting.
It's a worthwhile thing to put
Yeah.
as part of their packaging and presentation, because otherwise it's just another hardworking team of small dudes that just do what everybody does.
Yeah, I think, and it's a shame because 3 Hour SmackDown, I mean, it's not a shame 3 Hour SmackDown's going away, but it's a shame that they haven't done this in the time that it's been 3 hours.
Mm.
I think they should have tried to kind of tap into the guys' personalities better.
Mm.
The Machine Guns are really interesting in that way. Like I think when a lot of us first saw the Machine Guns, they were very colorful as people.
Yeah.
And they did like comedy and shtick. And then when they reunited in TNA, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, they were kind of the version we get now, which is like these sort of workman-like veteran baby faces.
It's very fascinating. And when you see them in backstage segments, they just like just this the past week on a Friday, they were talking to the Fraxium, and like the overall vibe of what they were saying to Fraxium Joe was basically just like, you guys are doing a good job. Welcome to the main roster, man. Like, you gotta just work hard, keep your head down. You're gonna make an immediate impact. And it's very like just generic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those ones where I watch them and I go, I'm really happy for Saban and Chili. I don't know if you'd never seen them before. I don't know if they would really be getting over with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Yeah, like is the 12-year-old kid that watches SmackDown watching it and going, "Oh baby, let's look at Alex Shelley go"? I don't know. Hope so.
It's a great question because again, like I'm like for us, we've seen the Machine Guns, so we watched them with like some fondness for like who they've been, and or just kind of like, man, good for them. You know, like, it's like good for the Machine Guns. But it's interesting. Speaking of like resonating, because I do try to gauge that sometimes, like who's resonating with who. And now my job has an alarming amount of WWE fans, Joe, like an alarming amount.
It's because you like recommend matches to them and stuff, right?
I actually run away when they try to bring up WWE. Like I actively will like run away. And now it's unfortunate because too many people know that I podcast and stuff. And so like they just feel the need to have theatrical wrestling conversations with me at work when I'm just trying to vibe, you know? And it's not me to say like, oh, I'm embarrassed to be a wrestling fan, but it's more like just like,
right.
Can I just, you know, can I not even separate? Just can I like
you don't want to have your two works at the same place.
Yeah. And it's funny because like they always, and I my coworkers ever stumble upon this. This is not me like complaining, but
no, he loves you guys.
I do love you guys. But like the other day, I remember my coworkers trying to like ask me my opinions on Cena and Cody, and like they were giving their take on it, and like just trying to have like a wrestling like debate size conversation. It's just like, can I just like drive the forklift, man? You know, but it's which by the way, funny enough, most of my coworkers are casuals fans. Not all of them. One of them is not, but I'll say that for an off-air story. But most of them are. And hilariously, for all the people that do the thing of the casual stuff, my one coworker was like, "Yo, Papi, what did you think of Mania?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff." He's like, "Yo, I like the show, but yo, you know a fight I didn't like, man?" I swear, he was like, "Yo, Papi, man, that fight with Randy, with Cena and Cody, man, that shit was whack, bro. That fight was whack." And I was like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah, bro, like, what was that ending, bro? Like, where's The Rock?" And I bring this up only to say, people think like casual fans just have completely different sensibilities and a completely different way of consuming wrestling. And in some ways they do. But a lot of times they think the shit that you find lame is also lame.
Yes.
Like,
also like they do have opinions on the matches.
Yes. They may not explain why they feel the way they feel in the same exact way. You know, and that's not even to say like they can't. It's just they'll use different ways to explain why they don't like something. You know, they're not as deep in, you know, which good for them. You know what I mean? But he's like, "Yo, man, like that fight was whack, bro. I wasn't really feeling that fight, bro." I'm like, really? But I say all this to say, Joe, I was at work on Saturday during Backlash, and I have these coworkers that love driving by me in the forklifts, and they just do the Cero Miedo. They'll literally all the time. They go, "Ibu!" I look up and they literally just do Cero Miedo. And I'm like, good one, man. You know, but the new one that they're doing is this a staple of American culture in the early 2000s, Joe. Was everybody going, "What's that?" It was a big thing here, fucking 25 years ago. And on Saturday, I had 3 coworkers doing that, but instead of WhatsApp, they were going, "Yeah, did I mean?" And I was just like, "What is happening?" Yeah, yeah. Imagine like that in real life, Joe. Like just like
I'd rather not.
exactly.
He's having a hell of a run up there in the
Yeah,
MLW zone.
yeah.
Hell of a run.
I'm just standing there in the middle of these 3 people, and I'm like, people really like Jacob Fatu.
Bro. He's, you know, remember like a year ago when on these shows we would just talk about how well he was going to do when he debuted?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not surprised at all, but there is still something to actually like seeing it with your own eyes, you know? It's just, I remember it, bro. I tweeted about it. When I was there in Vegas, he came out of Mania and like everyone stood up. It was
It's
wild.
Joe, it's to a point where like it actually feels like I could feel WWE like it feels like a pot that's bubbling and like the top of the pot is kind of like floating over the pot. You know what I mean? Because like the bubbles are kind of sitting out. It feels like they're actively pushing it before it like completely blows yet. And
Yeah.
it feels like they themselves are like, not yet, not yet. You know what I mean? Like even though he's a champion and he's over, it was like even like, in their minds with him and with Braun. I see with Braun, like I feel like with both of them, if they really wanted to go 100%, those both of them on each side are now at levels where like it could be just like that. And,
Yeah.
but I feel like they're intentionally and manually trying to like for whatever reason they're trying to do is they're saving it for some type of Cena Batista 05 type of thing for next year. That's what I honestly like see happening.
I agree. I think there's more reason to be patient with Brom just because he's less experienced, right?
Mm-hmm. But my point is the crowd is ready for it now.
No, I agree. I agree completely. Yeah, I absolutely you're right. Jacob is, man, with where his promos at, with how over he is, with his physical charisma, with the stuff he can do bell to bell. Like, yeah, he's been incredible, and I think they need to be careful with the solo thing because
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a version of it that like does no good for anyone, to be honest. Um, I like Solo Sikoa, obviously. I like Jeff Cobb. I'm happy for Jeff Cobb.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't the guys to be taking Jacob the distance, bro. Like, he should kill both of them.
Oh my god.
I'm just being real. You can rebuild with them as a team.
Yeah.
He should wrestle Jeff Cobb in an 8-minute shootout and beat him clean. Like, I like Jeff Cobb. If Jeff Cobb's been brought in to like push him to the limit, like to me, it's Jacob's beyond that, man.
The original idea I heard was the one that I pretended was just a pitch. I mean, I pretended was just what's the word? Like a pitch on my end, which was Bronson Reed, Jacob, and Jeff Cobb. That was the original I heard. I don't know if they're gonna still do that. I mean, they could because now it looks like it's Solo bringing in his guy and Jacob was included. That's what it looks like to me now.
They should switch it because Jacob's a babyface now.
The thing is, I feel like they were trying to delay that because they are aware that they're lacking main event heels. But now it is kind of one of those things where it's like, dude, you really just can't fight this anymore.
Yeah, he's a babyface, and his matches will be better as a babyface too because he can do all his core offense.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I was the high man of the 4-way. You know what I was taken by with that? I love the atmosphere in the crowd, and I don't know if it's weird to have favorite crowds, but that was one of my favorite crowds of the year. And what I mean is there were other crowds that were similarly loud. We saw a bunch of them on the TVs in Mania season, but I hated every single one of those crowds. Yeah, I don't like European crowds. I've come to realize this. I don't like how you guys react to wrestling. You guys are like,
don't put me into this, bro. I don't make any sound at wrestling. You know this.
You guys like cheer for yourselves while wrestling is happening. That's kind of what's happening there. Like you're just kind of like you're basically just kind of having a party and a match is happening in the background, and like. Does it sync up with the match? Not really, like vaguely. Like they're dancing and they look down. Oh, EO's there. Okay, folks, we're gonna sing now. EO, and it's like, like it's like a conga line where they just kind of like, you know what I mean, just kind of switching directions and.
I don't want to get it. I actually have extensive views on this. We could probably do a show about this, just wrestling crowds.
Yeah, and so like, I mean, I agree with you. But I actually have a take on that before I get to that. Sincerely, I just loved how St. Louis engaged with the wrestling. They just. It was very raucous. It was very I just love the energy in the building. Kind of had a takeovery energy to it in some respects. And I thought the action in this 4-way was better than the action in the Dom one. But the Dom one had the appeal of just a stadium show where they just really wanted Dom to win and willed it and just decided we liked them, and then he did win, which is awesome. That's cool organic shit. I did like the action in this better, and I you mentioned it yesterday. LA Knight, he's a fucking beast, you know.
Good wrestler, man. For real.
Yeah. He's like, I mean, again, you said it. He's very underrated at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's made himself like a very reliable guy, bell to bell. Very reliable. For sure.
All right, last thing on crowds, and then we're gonna read Cam Raiders thing. I was talking to a friend of mine, Joe, after Backlash, after I watched it. And we were just debating the state of wrestling and like how crowds react to wrestling. And my brother chimed in because he saw highlights of Pillman and Liger. And he said, wrestling is washed. And my friend said, Becky Lynch's match with Lyra was great.
True.
And I think what my brother was actually trying to argue was how people react to wrestling. And that turned into the conversation about momentum shifts. I mean, like reacting to momentum shifts and how people just expect certain things out of matches. And so they're just conditioned to chant and cheer and say certain things during certain phases of the match rather than believing in anything as a plausible near fall and so on and so forth. And just how crowds engage with wrestling and how that affects what you're watching. Right, in that broader conversation. And it actually looped all the way back around to me praising Becky Lynch because what I said was that a couple of finishes in that match were plausible finishes.
Yeah.
You know, and she's one of the people that in WWE that are thoughtful about that kind of thing. And similarly, last Monday, I know you didn't see this match yet, but Jey Uso and Seth had a match, Joe, where the actual appeal of the match is that in the final quarter of the match, there were numerous false finishes and misdirections that were all actually plausible finishes. Because to me, the shitty thing is when it's just, I do my finish, you kick out. Now I'm just going to do it again. And then you kick out.
Yeah.
Now you're just going to do yours and kick. Like, there's no actual like art or ideas behind that. You're just doing it over until eventually one of them wins. You know what I mean? But the arrangement of the spots and how they did certain things and how they created certain misdirections with the interferences and the runouts and then like, you know, that kind of stuff, like the subversion of like certain things that you're expecting, that was well done. And that's what wrestling needs to continue to strive to do in this day and age, because otherwise you just kind of, you don't bite on certain things, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
I want to give love to Cam Raider because his chat's been on the screen for legitimately like the whole show. But
absolutely,
while we're on this topic, and then we'll get to it because it's a very worthwhile. I mean, all of the super chats are worthwhile, but this is a topic we're going to talk about more. And of course, there's a personal touch here. So we will get to that. But we're talking about wrestling crowds for a moment longer. I have kind of got frustrated with sometimes I think crowds are overly criticized for not being loud the whole time. And I think it's actually very obvious when the difference between a crowd that like is watching the match and is reacting when things happen.
Yes.
Rather than just like chanting for the sake of chanting, you know?
Yes.
I remember when and this is I'm kind of on an island with this, and that's okay. I remember the second FTR Briscoes match, people hated that crowd. To me, it was like, if you watch that match back now, you'll get what I mean, I think. They're totally watching that match, dude. Like, they're fully watching that match. They're not looking on their phones. They're absolutely immersed in that match. They're just not conveying it with, like, chants, necessarily. But they're watching it. They're living and dying with every momentum shift and everything that happens in it. And I think sometimes the kind of emphasis on chants, I think, has taken away the power of a crowd like that, where you can actually watch them go on a ride with the match, you know? It's not always loud, but they're paying attention the whole time.
Makes you realize, like, do I like chants? And I, it's like, are chants good? And it's like, they are, but some of them suck. I'm telling you, if we have free time in the rest in the later parts of this show or on a different worldwide, we're gonna list out the bad chants in pro wrestling because there's a lot of bad chants.
Not something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Right. Cam Raider 499. Cam Raider says, my dad passed away a few years ago, but was a big ECW fan in the 90s. And Sabu was someone he always mentioned fondly. What should I watch of his? Should we just do the Sabu segment now, or should I just answer this question and then do it, or like how should we do this, Joe?
I think you should do some like direct recommendations so poor Cam read his check and come off the screen. But then I think we should do the Sabu segment.
Okay. All right. So Cam, it's tough to convey Sabu to someone who has never seen him. And sometimes my inclination is, and rather than just going right for like his highest rated matches, but is to give you a collection of things that give you an idea of what he actually was. And so I'm going to try to mix both of those things. And I'll just say to you this. I would watch his tag with Rob Van Dam against Shinzaki and Hayabusa from Heatwave 1998. I'd watch his barbed wire match with Terry Funk. I'd watch his Stairway to Hell match with Sandman. I'd watch any match he had with Cactus Jack. I'd watch his 1996 bout with Too Cold Scorpio. I'd watch his match with Rey Mysterio at One Night Stand 06. You could even throw his match against John Cena, the Extreme Lumberjack match at Vengeance 2006. Because if you're familiar with John Cena, as most wrestling fans are, seeing the contrast to John Cena in the form of that man across from him and what he brought to that match in the setting of WWE tells you exactly who Sabu is. His stuff with Rhino and or Abyss in TNA was all fun, including the four-way Monsters Ball that also included Jeff Hardy. Fucking sick match. He has awesome stuff in FMW. There's a match with Tarzan Goto that I would recommend. His matches with Onita are all just like really weird science experiments where usually somebody is catching on fire at some point in the match or stuck in barbed wire. And like, I don't even know how to describe it. You just kind of watch it in awe. You're not like, oh, like you're not like reacting to it like it's wrestling, and you're also not like bored or thinking it's bad. You're just watching like the best. It's like watching it's like when your friend shows you a video on your phone of like a monkey doing something really strange, and you just like you make a face like what? Oh, and he's going over the fucking gate. Holy shit! Like it's like that kind of thing. It's just really weird, and you don't know what to rate it at the end. You're just kind of like, my god, that was nuts. I don't, Joe. I don't know how to. I've watched like maybe 20 Sabu FMW matches in my life. I don't know what I'd rate any one of them, but like they're all very weird and like fascinating and insane and like hilarious and have some type of imagery in the match that's like, holy shit, it's very striking. Vintage Puro Resu posted a highlight tape of Sabu in FMW, and there's a shot of him that I tweeted where he's like stuck between the barbed wire ropes and his head is caught between it, and he's making this face like with his teeth out, and he's like kind of stuck, and he's like legs are dangling, and it's just like Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, that may be like is a weird attribute to highlight, but his knack for like striking imagery,
yes,
is among his greatest strengths.
yes.
Again, I know it's like an uncommon thing to cite, but it absolutely is part of his career. Absolutely, it was.
I agree. He and it's funny. Dave Meltzer talked about this, and it's true. He says that like he influenced Terry Funk for like the later days of his career, and in a weird way, I think they influence each other when you like just kind of observe their '90s work, because over the course of Sabu's '90s, he starts having that funkism of just like being weirdly irreverent with how he reacts to like extreme things happening to him is the best way to explain it, because a normal person gets hit with a chair and they flop back and die. A normal person goes to a table and they kind of lay to the side and sell it. A normal person gets fucking, whacked with a barbed wire bat, and it's like, that's normal selling. That's normal reactions to things. Terry Funk, these things happen to Terry Funk, and he acts afflicted in a completely unique way. That's just so him. You know what I mean? He gets hit with a chair and he starts doing the stanky leg, and then like will kind of like shimmy in and tip over or something. He falls to a table and starts like his arm starts fucking like spasming like he's having a heart attack, and then he'll start yelling or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sabu is very, very similar. He'll just bump weird for something. He's going to fucking just have a weird reaction to getting hit with barbed wire. He like it's very Funk in that respect, the same way that Funk was inspired by Sabu in terms of just like how he put his matches together in the late 90s. But Cam Raider, like I just said, any RVD tag is worth a look at, and the one I highlighted is the one I just watched earlier, which is the one with Shinzaki and Hayabusa from Heatwave 98. But oh my god, I didn't even mention the Taz matches. The Taz matches are all very fun. The one at Barely Legal is very good, and you can watch it now without like like the people of '97 are pumped up like this is the fight of the century because it's been built for a year and a half. And when they got the 3 3/4 match that they got, like there were people that were actually very disappointed in the match at the time. But without that, you can just watch it and go, yeah, that was sick.
But I do think you should seek out the context, though. I mean, you did a tweet about it, and
Yeah,
there's a bunch of stuff you can. I think even Derby Vault did like the story of Sabu and Taz. I think.
yeah, Joe, we watched it in the Discord, and it was
perfect. There you
amazing. Go. That's the best part about it, Joe. Is they actually put together all the key angles, and what I love, Joe, is the presentation of like certain promos in ECW when they had no budget was sick. There's a promo, Joe, where it's Paul Heyman talking to the camera with his hat on, but like his whole face is shadowed out. Like this is like a secret meeting with him and the fans, a secret conversation he's having with the fans, and he's just kind of like, Sabu is my personal friend. Taz, Peter Sinersha, the man I brought in 1993, is a personal friend. I brought Sabu back to ECW because it was good business. But as a friend, I asked him to stay away from Taz. I told Taz to stay away from Sabu. And for a year, they agreed. They did what was right. They did it for the fans. Da 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 da. And he's saying, but he was basically saying that like he said like Sabu, he was like Taz is an adult. Taz is a mature man, but he doesn't have the emotional maturity to listen to my warnings. He couldn't keep himself away. He couldn't help himself. He had to call him out. He had to attack Rob Van Dam. He had to attack this guy and that guy because Taz is emotionally a child. Taz is not a good friend. And he starts talking this way, and it was all leading to him basically saying, these fuckers have no hope, and eat for the good of ECW's future. We can't move on forward as a company until these guys just have their fight. And he basically and he emerges from the shadows, and he's basically just like, so enough is enough. It ends. They're going to have a match on the first ECW pay-per-view. And you're like, holy fucking shit. It was so dramatic because he framed it like, if you love me, stay away from him. And he went to the other guy, if you love me, stay away from him. Just do your matches, draw the houses, let's put on good shows. And it got to a point where it's like, this is clearly just not going to fucking happen. So be it. And it was just beautiful.
I mean, I'm not the ECW guy here of this pair, obviously, but I think you would co-sign that, like, of all the iconic ECW moments, it certainly has an argument to be the 1 seed. I think when the lights come on and they finally are face to face, right? That's like
insane, Joe. In the context, well, you know what makes it godlier, Joe, is that whole show. Taz is disrupting everything happening on it.
Yeah.
He's just like opening match. He's doing it. He's running out midway. Even that angle, Joe, I tweeted about it. Like the announcer walks up to Taz and is talking, and it's not in this theatrical WWE way, but the announcer's just kind of like talking. Taz's like, what is it? And the guy, and then he puts the mic to his face, and he's like, there's another match scheduled, Taz. We have to get to the next match. He's like, fuck the next match. Come in here. You're my hostage now. Now you're my fucking hostage until Sabu comes out. I'm hijacking his whole fucking show. I'm not leaving until Sabu comes out. Crowd is chanting, Sabu, Sabu, Sabu. Lights are out. Lights are back on. He's doing the fucking post. And you're like, oh my goodness. And we'll just rewind because we're talking Sabu here now, folks. Masterpiece in long-term storytelling that was slightly serendipitous in truth. But I want you guys to think about this. Sabu made his debut in 1993 for Eastern Championship Wrestling. This was a person that, if you knew, you knew. The magazines knew. The fans that bought the After Mags knew. Taz in a promo, Joe, hilariously was like, we know you're a mark for the magazine shots, for the After Mags, for the magazine covers. He's like, I don't give a fuck about the After Mags. But 93, man, he's an urban legend. He's like the urban myth you heard about. He's like the last magazine phenomenon. He's the guy you never could catch unless you're going to Kawasaki Stadium, unless you're just driving uptown to like your local indie and maybe he's gonna hit it that month. You didn't watch Sabu. In ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling didn't have a nationwide TV deal. And Paul Heyman knew about him because he wrestled in FMW and he wrestled in certain other places, IWA Japan, whatever it was, you know. And Sabu was like seen as like the most just awe-inspiring daredevil in the entire business. And I want to really make this clear for folks in 1993. American wrestling was not in a great place creatively or business-wise. It's easy now to just kind of like sift through and cherry pick and go, I mean, Brett's fucking King of the Ring was incredible. And Ric Flair did some great stuff with Vader. And that's all true. You can absolutely cherry pick objectively good things that happened in the big two. But you look at the houses, you look at just the nationwide interest in pro wrestling in America, and it was a business that needed a shot in the arm badly. And if nothing else, Sabu was that shot in the arm. Paul Heyman brought him in, Joe. He was strapped to the fucking board like Hannibal Lecter with like a mouth covering, like he was a fucking monster, like Frankenstein, you know. And Taz just told the story on his Twitter. He was there as the Tasmaniac. It was his first match too. Taz's first match is Sabu's first match. And he's there as the enhancement guy to just put over Sabu. And Sabu does his shit, flying through the air, moonsaults into the crowd. You're like, what the fuck? Guillotine leg drops, flying through tables, some of which he just did intentionally to show he was crazy, Joe. In early Sabu matches, Joe, he would do this thing where even after he won, he'd set out another table and just run and fly through it and break it. And you're like, what the fuck? And Joey Styles is like, he's out of his mind. What's wrong with him? You know, and he would just do that and get strapped back up to the fucking board and be wheeled away. You were like, he's off his fucking rocker. And that's how he was packaged, Joe. In the video packages that were narrated by Paul Heyman, especially once you get to 94, they would say in his presentation, Joe, he's so dangerous. Your local athletic commission won't allow him to wrestle for your state. They would talk about how he was banned in states. He has the match with Taz. They both get hired because Taz looked good in the match. You're like, well, hold on now. That was a nice little throw there from that little jobber kid. Wait a minute. Hold on, son. What did you do before this? Oh, I did some judo. Hold on. All right. You know, welcome aboard, kid. You know, this is Todd Gordon's ECW. Paulie had just gotten the book. Sabu was his meal ticket, realistically. Eddie Gilbert booked ECW before Paul Heyman. And it was a different promote. It was just an indie. It was an independent that I'm not saying like there was no elements of the ECW that we all knew before then. But when Paul Heyman really started to institute his vision for what this was going to be and what pro wrestling was going to be, it's like when a new GM takes over a team and they make the first big like draft pick. And in a lot of what's up?
I just wanted to ask because this is, I think, actually an interesting thing to kind of highlight.
Yeah.
Would you agree that what Paulie really nailed in that transition was more like the way he packaged it more than what actually was being produced? Because a lot of Paulie's vision, the Memphis overlap is considerable.
Yes.
And I think Eddie and him actually had like a similar mindset creatively. But I think Paulie's genius more was the way that he framed stuff, which you were just described. I just wanted to...
I think what it really is rather than a philosophical thing, it's like making it more contemporary, I think. And in a way that resonated with a younger...
the music, the way it was shot.
Right. And so out of nowhere, you turn on ECW in 1994 and Alice in Chains is playing. Metallica is playing. Pearl Jam is playing. Nirvana is playing. And Joey Styles will narrate or tell you that like, the Bad Breed are coming into town here, folks. Folks, tonight at Eastern Championship Wrestling's like whatever, it would be like Sunday Bash Slam or something, and he'll literally be like, Jimmy Snuka is wrestling tonight, but also, folks, the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal maniac Sabu is back in town, folks, and Shane Douglas has something to say about that. And then you get it'll be that sound effect, and you just hear like fucking like, you know, you would just hear fucking like, a guitar riff in the background. And it's just like, it's the franchise tonight, Sabu. I got something to say to you. Cut the fucking music. And you're like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? And again, it was just wrestling presented like it had never, ever, ever, ever been presented before. Ever. And again, it's still an open secret. It's still just Philly's little thing. It's Philly's dirty little club. It's their treehouse. You know what I mean? And Sabu was the guy that got you talking. That was the guy that was the word of mouth guy. That was the guy that was like, hey, man, there's a thing going on up in Philly. Dave Meltzer, you know what he would say, Joe, in like 94? He'd literally say like that Philadelphia-based group, the Eastern Championship group in Philadelphia, like they have this incredible athlete there who's like one of the most spectacular wrestlers in the world. And he would put him in the same breath as guys like Bret Hart and like
right. Because we made a point, like I said this to Monty yesterday, I do think in history, the ECW original term has done Sabu a sense that I think people like lump him together with guys that respectfully, and they would all agree if they were on this show with us right now, shouldn't be framed alongside him for historical significance. You know, I think, they were very different at the time. Yeah.
Very different. And in the case of Sabu, he was a rising tide that was like forcing everyone to just turn their heads at what the fuck was happening in Philadelphia. And let it be known something was happening in Philadelphia. And it didn't quite come together fully in a way that you could just package it to someone who'd never seen it and they would get it right away. But something was happening in Philadelphia. So much so that Terry Funk is making more towns. And let that also be known. Terry Funk was making towns and he believed in this. He looked at the project. They'd would book Cactus Jack. They'd bring Cactus Jack to town after WCW fired him, if I'm not mistaken. They fired him, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He would come in and again, he'd make those towns. They're booking Malenko. They're booking Benoit. And those are the guys that Paulie could package as the technicians of the future. They're booking guys like Public Enemy and stuff, and they could do the hip hop and the crowd participation stuff. But the real big thing was if you come to an ECW show, there's a motherfucker on that show who's going to blow your mind. He's going to fly through the air. He's going to do a moonsault. And yeah, you saw Muta do a moonsault. This guy does it off the middle rope to the outside. He might fly right into your fucking seat, folks. He's going to break a table. You're like, break a table? He's going to put a guy in a table and go through it. What? People putting other people's bodies through tables? What the fuck? He might stack too, Joe. He might stack too. And you're like, what? And again, this sounds so rudimentary and commonplace now. Everybody uses tables in matches. Randy Orton used the fucking table.
He used two.
Yeah, he did. He did. But that was like Sabu's actual thing. There have been table spots in wrestling forever. Randy Savage did table spots in Memphis. Right. So I'm not trying to cast any aspersions here or lie to you people and act like he invented table spots. But that was his thing.
He kind of normalized them within his matches, which was not a thing. I think it's fair to say.
Correct. So much so, Joe, that it was his thing even in ECW for the first year or so, until eventually it was like Public Enemy's doing tables now, and then like even fucking Benoit will powerbomb a guy through a table, and eventually Sabu wanted to fucking fight Paul Heyman because he's like, yo, what the fuck, man? That's my thing, But Paul Heyman was like, well, people want to see this, so this is just now our thing. Now it's all our things. But because of that, it would push Sabu to go, then fuck you. I'm going to go even more dangerous then.
Of course.
Yes. Sabu was the guy who was genocidal, death-defying, suicidal, homicidal. He knew people heard about him in the magazines. He knew Michael Jordan used to always say this thing, Joe. He would say, I played every game like there's someone in the crowd who had never watched me play. And they had to walk away with a Michael Jordan story. Sabu was the same way, Joe. If he's going to Poughkeepsie, New York, if he's going to Asbury Park, New Jersey, if he's going to Philadelphia, he knew there's somebody there, especially in 94 and 95, there's somebody there that heard about him, but had never watched him. There's somebody there that doesn't have ECW as a part of their television package. And they're coming to see him, and they heard about him, and they saw him on the fucking poster. And so I gotta fucking do a moonsault out to the outside. I gotta fucking fly rib first into a fucking guardrail. I gotta get fucking DDT'd on the chairs. I'm gonna jump off a balcony. I'm gonna do all that shit. And like I just said, By mid-94, Joe, everybody's doing tables in ECW. It's the new thing.
Mhm.
They changed the name of the promotion. It's not Eastern Championship Wrestling anymore. Now it's Extreme Championship Wrestling. That's the company's brand. Already in a couple months, Sabu has changed the whole promotion. That's the company's brand. And so he, as the ace, had to then take it up a notch. And then that's when barbed wire gets involved, Joe. That's when fire gets involved. Branding irons, that kind of shit. And so that's what he was doing. And he go
Do you
ahead.
think the significance of the barbed wire match with Funk? I guess I don't want to say it's commonplace now, but I guess barbed wire in the States is commonplace to some extent, right? By comparison.
Mhm.
But you can clue me in on this better. Like the level of attraction that was, and the level of the reputation that earned, I think is probably a better way of putting it, for
There
wrestling
would
fans was insane, right?
listen to me. You couldn't get that, just wasn't a thing in America.
Right. Yeah.
It was Onita's thing
Mm-hmm.
in his insane little group in Japan. Paul Heyman would do these fucking inset ads this weekend in the ECW arena. Barbed Wire City, or he'll just say shit like that. And they'd have shows named after barbed wire. And the whole hook is just tonight's main event. They're breaking it out, folks. There's barbed wire on the ropes. There's barbed wire on the chairs. And you're like, what the fuck? Hilariously, Joe, when Paul Heyman brought Cactus Jack in ECW, the whole point of bringing Cactus Jack in was, folks, you've seen that motherfucker in the tapes. You have seen him on WCW. What would happen if he faced Sabu? And they framed it as the two craziest people in wrestling. Mick Foley is on record saying how terrified he was to do the match, Joe. Not because of any actual fear of like any bumps, because we know Mick has no fear for that. His fear was, bro, what if the people build this up in their heads too much and then like we disappoint them? That was his fear. He was scared that he was gonna have a match with Sabu, that the fans would go, I didn't live up to the fucking it wasn't that good. And so Mick's remedy to the situation was to just do everything under the sun that he could think of.
Of course.
Yes. And Sabu was like, yeah, let's fucking do it.
Sounds good, bro.
Yeah. And Dave spoke about this also, but it's also in the observer things. Like, Joe, going into the match, like Dave expressed fear about these guys like with no TV deal, just like having a match that could kill them. Like they just would genuinely kill them. In the ads for this match, so I talked about this like maybe 2 years ago. Paul Heyman's advertising of Cactus Jack coming in was basically like, I was asked to not bring him in. I was asked to not book this person. I was asked to save him from himself. Cactus Jack is coming to ECW. And like Mick Foley busts through like a wall or some shit, and he's like, bang, bang! And it just puts like the logo on. And that's the end of the ad. I'm gonna share it when I find it.
Mm-hmm.
They do the match, and again, the rest really is just history. 94, though, I want to also reiterate, Joe. I think this is like really when Smarkdom comes together. 1994, Misawa Kobashi. 1994, Super J Cup. 1994, Eastern Championship Wrestling becomes Extreme Championship Wrestling. 1994, Hulk Hogan now goes to WCW, which fundamentally changes WCW.
Yeah.
The fans that are not into that kind of thing, where do they go? What do they have to gravitate towards?
They can't go to WWF, certainly.
They cannot.
They need an underdog. They need a third promotion.
They need something. They need guidance. They need direction. What do we look towards? Who's going to point us to where we need to be pointed to? They buy a Pro Wrestling Illustrated. They buy a torch. They buy a newsletter. And they look for directions. They look for guidance. They look for a map. And they get a couple ones, and they point them in the directions of Jushin Thunder Liger. It points them to Mitsuharu Misawa. It points them to Kenta Kobashi. It points them to Onita. It points them to Rey Mysterio Jr. It points them to Psychosis. Speaking of which, Worlds Collide, AAA in California, 1994. And that show outdrew any show, I want to say in WCW and WWF, but I think WWF, they did Madison Square Garden, so that can't be true. But it outdrew a lot of American shows that year in terms of attendance. They're getting exposed to shit that they've never seen before. And again, they're being pointed to all these people. But among these people they're pointed to was Sabu. And on a promotion that he mained in that had no TV deal, he was second place for Wrestler of the Year in 1994.
Which is insane.
He was second place for Most Outstanding Wrestler of the Year in 1994. Both awards. And the main explanation for it, folks, is just they had no one, like, it was beyond human comprehension what he was doing if you had watched wrestling for like a long period of time. We've seen bloody wrestlers. We've seen violent matches. That's been in wrestling forever. Blood has been in wrestling forever. That's not new. But him doing it in the manner that he would do it, with the like unique offense that we had never seen before, where he's like mixing innovation and acrobatics and violence, the way he would do it was never seen before. And he was a hard wrestler to talk about because of that. Because he couldn't hold the candle to Bret Hart technically, but he
was underrated in that regard, though, I will say.
He's not Sandman.
Right. We'd love to Sandman, who's awesome in his own way. But yeah, he was a lot tighter mechanically. And I think people because they just see the clips of him flying doing crazy shit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He actually he could wrestle. Sabu could wrestle. Yes. Yeah. But with that said, he's not Bret Hart. Right. He's not Kurt Hennig. And yet he inspired awe with what he did to a similar degree. And so a lot of people, when you ask them, like, who's the most impressive wrestler to you, you're saying him. The same way that guys, to try to convey it to like a younger fan, try to convey it. It's like the way people were talking about, like, to a much higher degree, because it's like transformative and it's seminal and it's novel. But like, guys, remember how like we would share GIFs and videos and clips of Vikingo like 4 years ago, and you're like, what the fuck is that?
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit. It's like that to like times like fucking 10 or whatever.
Right. And that's a good attempt to it's just there isn't really a comparison, because I think maybe more than any other wrestler in history, Sabu is like reflective of his time, in the sense that you mentioned him being like the last magazine wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of the presence and aura he could build by reputation. Imagine if Sabu existed today and like you could just put on like Triller TV and watch his latest match on the weekend. It would be so weird, right?
It's weird, and it wouldn't work the same. The magic, Joe, was some of his craziest, most impressive, most mind-boggling work was happening when people couldn't see it and didn't see it, and the cameramen caught it, and the reporters caught it, and the magazines caught it, and you'd open up to page 15, and there'd be a story about him working a match with Tarzan Goto where he had a fucking branding iron on fire that he put into his fucking gut, and you just see a picture of that, and you're like, what in the fuck is this?
Right.
I just watched like fucking a Doom tag yesterday. Like what's happened? Like that's not what this looks like, and it's a really hard thing to convey, but that's the thing. It's the reputation and the word of mouth. And because of that, like I iterated, he felt the need to deliver. And in his way of delivering is just continuing to punish himself. And by 94, folks, as smarkdom is becoming a thing, Sabu was one of those guys that the fans said, he's our guy. Smarkdom in the early days, there were very much wrestlers that they were like, we don't fuck with you. And other wrestlers that were like, no, you're our guy. Hogan, never one of the guys that these fans are going, we fuck with you. He's among the people that are the faces of, quote, the problem, right? Because by 94, there was a sentiment that there was a problem with American pro wrestling. There was a problem. And hardcore TV was supposedly the antidote. You turn it on, you hear Thunder Kiss 65, you hear Paul Heyman talking about, we don't do that shit that you see on WWF or WCW. These guys work hard, they bleed, they do this, they do that, they crash through tables, they wrestle in styles you never seen, and that only expanded going into the next year. And 1995 is a big year, Joe, because in 1995, Sabu's getting to a point where New Japan is really liking what he got going on.
Mm-hmm.
He did IWA, he did FMW, but now the big boys are like, hold on a second. Because here's the thing. They were more open to alternative types because of the Super J Cup. Because the Super J Cup, Jushin Liger was pushing New Japan. Let's work with the other companies to get the best juniors. Not just our in-house juniors. Get the best juniors. Because there's talent to be found in these smaller groups. That's how Hayabusa got a big platform. And Hayabusa beat Jushin Liger. And Hayabusa, not the cleanest wrestler, not the prettiest wrestler in the world. He wasn't formally trained in the New Japan dojo, but he was so fucking cool. And he's a renegade. And again, how does that tie to Sabu? New Japan all of a sudden, we're like, you know what? Let's actually explore this in terms of just like platforming and giving a chance to these other types of juniors. Because they've already done that with other heavyweights in the sense that they do interpromotional stuff all the time. Let's do it with the juniors. And if you follow the through line of Hayabusa and then you look at Taka Michinoku and this guy, why wouldn't you, if you're Japan and you're aware of Sabu, whose exploits are pretty wide in Japan at this point, in FMW, why wouldn't you say, hey, come over here? And so they brought him over. And in New Japan matches, Joe, I want people to think about this because people ask me, what would you recommend from Sabu in New Japan? What I would tell you is this. His approach to New Japan, Joe, was he refused to assimilate. They would put him in these undercard 6-person tags and 8-person tags, where realistically his role is to just come in, fill in, chops, forearms, holds, and in the closing stretch, you come in and you do your move. The end. Everyone does it. Just do it. Just do that, Sabu. And he would, in these matches, Joe, like, not planned, off the cuff. He's like, I'm breaking out a table. And you're like, what? And you know those Japanese tables are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's a fucking table? And people are like, what is he doing? There'd be matches, Joe, where nobody wants to go to that fucking table. No one's taking that fucking bump. It's match 2 on a fucking show in like Sumo Hall or something, right? And so you know what he would do, Joe? The match would end. Everyone's being asked to leave the ring. They're ringing the bell for all the competitors to get out of the way so that the next match can start. Ding, 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 ding. And he's still in the ring, Joe. He puts a table on the outside and it'll hit the rope and jump over the rope and fly through that table and break that Japanese table. Because that's just what he wanted to do. It's like a kid acting out or something. Very weird. Very strange.
I mean, that would be a theme and a trend in his career, right? I mean, I think, I just said he was of his time, and we agree that was the case. But I also think mentally, there was a very much like an old school territory mindset, and he would protect his own aura and identity beyond anything else.
Yes, and so it's just like, okay, I am in the tag with Osamu Nishimura and this guy and that guy, and like I'm a prelim guy, but I'm fucking Sabu, motherfucker. These people are going to talk about me at the end of this show. I'm going to find a way. They're going to talk about Hashimoto's main event with Hiroshi Hase. Yeah, they'll talk about Keiji Muto's tag. They'll talk about the Hellraisers. They'll talk about whoever you want to name. They'll talk about Choshu, whoever you want to name, Fujinami. But there was that guy in the second match that just fucking jumped off, like he did a springboard to the outside and just did an elbow drop to a fucking table. Why did he do that? That was so weird. That was insane. And he would do this, Joe. There's certain matches he'd do it, it wouldn't break because it's a Japanese table. And then the bell is continuing in the ring. There's like a person on the sideline. There's a corner man. There's a young boy like, hello, sir, Mr. Sabu, can you please leave the ring? Get the fuck out of my way, kid. And then he'd just go back in the ring and try it again and break it. There's footage of this, folks. Like, New Japan would fucking kill me if I posted it. There's a match I remember watching, Joe, where like a young boy is basically politely trying to tell him to just leave. You know what I mean? And he just shoves him. And
he's not gonna take the orders from the young boy, is he? He's gonna have to,
And I'm gonna fucking fly to this goddamn table and break it. And he would. And the thing is, Joe, the crowd, when he set the table, you'd hear, oh. And then he hits the ropes and then he flies through. Oh, it would break. And it's like, oh, and they'd erupt into applause. And then he'd emerge out of this. He's popping his shoulder back into place and does the fucking pose where he's pointing up to the original Sheik, his uncle. And you're just like, man, who the fuck is this? And so what New Japan's response to this was, I think we got something here. This weird fuck is money. And so New Japan started to call him some more. And he started to book him some more. And the prelim tags, Joe, became singles matches, third from the top. And at that point, he started making more money.
Mm.
And so there was a show. I want to say it's the three-way dance event for ECW in 1995. Sabu had been tagging with the Tasmaniac for some time. Great team. The other night I watched a couple of their matches. Hell of a team. Taz was actually like a good worker as the Tasmaniac. He just has like a lame presentation, but good motor on that kid. He did all his like cool throws and suplexes, but he also had like a more traditional babyface fire. So just picture Taz with curly hair, Joe, just like with his two fists up, like, come on, bring it on, and like doing a fucking judo throw. And like Taz, like, you know, Taz is the human suplex machine. He does a judo throw and he kind of like does a cool walk afterwards, like Samoa Joe style. Yeah. The Tasmaniac does a judo throw and he does the fucking 80s like Steamboat or, you know, who Ricky Morton is just, come on, like come back. Like, you know, when you do your comeback and you hit them with a lariat or something and they bump and they come back up and you're waiting for them, like that type of babyface fire. That's the Tasmaniac. But anyway, Tasmaniac, Sabu, they were scheduled to wrestle Joe on three-way dance. Sabu got booked for New Japan. He got offered. Taz alleges that he was also offered a booking on that day in Japan. It's unclear if it was for New Japan or another group, but he claims he was also called by Japan for that day. Taz said, no, I'm booked for ECW. Sabu takes the booking. He doesn't tell Paul Heyman. He no-shows three-way dance. He wrestles in New Japan that day. Goes to another table to raucous applause. He, in his mind, I'm riding high, brother. And folks, just for context, before I even continue the story, Sabu claims that by 95, he goes, I'm a Japan guy. I'm not an ECW guy, man. I'm a Japan guy. Japan was my home. I stopped by ECW for stuff. I didn't even make any fucking money. I'm a Japan guy. That's my priority. That's what he claims. He no-shows three-way dance. And Paul Heyman Joe stands in the middle of the ring and tells everybody exactly what happened. He says, Sabu agreed to me that he would make this date. He promised me he would be here, and he is not here. And so I apologize to all of you for not delivering on an advertised match, and I am firing Sabu. He will never set foot in the ECW arena ever again, was what Paul Heyman declared in the spring of 1995. Another man who was legitimately frustrated, Joe, was Taz, who claimed he was aware of Sabu like having the booking offers, but was allegedly assured that he'd make this ECW show. He was genuinely mad. And you know what's insane, Joe? Taz breaks his neck, which I'm sure would add to anybody's real life frustration.
Right.
But doesn't that make a great kayfabe story? You did a match without your tag partner, the guy that you're used to, and it costs you your neck and potentially your career. And so Paul Heyman's next move was to drop the gimmick and expose the man. The man that broke his neck on that night, folks, was not the Tasmaniac. It was Peter Sinersha, a shooter of the Koji Kitao dojo. He is Taz. And he has a lot of animosity and heat for Terry Brunk, the man known as Sabu, who no-showed his date. So he spends the next little bit, Joe, doing commentary and interrupting inset interviews. And basically, anytime Joey Styles is talking to the camera, billboarding the TVs, Taz just walks in with a cool fucking jumpsuit, and he's just like, yeah, cut the fucking shit, Styles. I'm coming back. I'm training. My neck is almost fixed. I'm training in the dojo, and I'm a professional. And when I get back in that ring, everybody is gonna take it. Everybody's gonna feel it. I'm killing everybody. I'm choking everybody out. I'm tapping everybody out. Because he would frame this as, I'm gonna do what Sabu doesn't do, and I'm a pro, and I'm gonna do it for ECW, and I'm gonna take out all my frustration and my anger on the rest of this fucking roster. And at this point, there weren't plans to bring Sabu back, but they were burying him on all these shows. They were using Sabu as fuel for Taz's character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'll let you guys all in on the secret, though. Because someone asked me last night in the Discord, Joe. They said, why did Heyman bring Sabu back if he claimed he was never going to set foot in ECW again? And here's the thing about Paul Heyman, folks. He's full of complete shit. He's full of shit. I think, Joe, in the back of Paul's mind that day, it was as simple as, I have to babyface myself before these people ask for refunds. And when Sabu inevitably wants to come back, I will let him back. Point blank period.
And it also adds to like the whole vibe of Sabu being this like band presence. And yeah, I mean,
right.
He's a lawyer, bro. He's a promoter, right?
Yes, exactly. And because he's Heyman and he's edgy, he has to do it on air. So he has to, again, Joe, it wasn't a very formal, like, folks, we apologize for this. We will be handling Sabu. No, it was like, fuck this motherfucker. He will never be back in the ECW arena. Sabu turned his back on each and every one of you. Not Taz. Sabu did. Fuck him. He's a piece of shit. And he lied to you. He lied to me. He stole your money. Fuck Sabu. And the crowd is just sitting there like, I don't know, man. I just want to watch that, man. You know, it's always funny when wrestling does this. Is they really try to turn the heat on the wrestler, and it never fully works. They try to do it with Steve Austin in 02. The man just kind of sit there like, I just kind of like this guy, man. I'm kind of sad he's not here. They did eventually get to a point, Joe, where the propaganda was so hard, every TV, every show, that it did get to a point where in mid-95, Joe, you got fuck Sabu chants. Yeah. And here's the thing. Fans did the thing that now modern AEW fans do, where when Paul Heyman brought the new guy in, Ray Jr., Psychosis, Juventud, they're doing their stuff, and the fans in the match are like elated by the Ranas and the dives. And you know what they start chanting, Joe? Fuck Sabu! Fuck Sabu! Fuck Sabu! Because you've seen this among fans, Joe, right? Where it's like, we don't fucking need him. We don't fucking need this guy. We have this guy. And that became a thing. Sabu goes to WCW, Joe. He comes back to the States. He goes to WCW. This run lasts like a couple matches. Doesn't work out. He's not getting paid great. Bischoff is not going to pay him more than the minimum because he's not going to push Sabu. He's just a fucking guy to put on Nitro. Point blank. Bad fit. Doesn't work out. Sabu leaves WCW. Where's he going to go, Joe? Because here's the thing about Sabu in New Japan. Ultimately, over the course of 95, they want to push him, it just sours. Why does it sour? I want you to think what a relationship and dynamic would be like between Antonio Inoki / Ricky Choshu and Sabu. Especially when Sabu walks around thinking that he's the fucking man. You know, doesn't work out. Kind of his own worst enemy in that respect in those situations. Is what it is. Makes him also who he is. Where is he going to come back to? He comes back to ECW. Paul Heyman reinstates him. November to Remember 1995. He's back. After, give or take, 7 months. Surely he's going to wrestle Taz. But what Paul Heyman does is he decided, Joe, when he brought him back, I'm not doing that match till I get on pay-per-view. And so the real reason this build was as long as it was, Joe, was because he was trying to get on pay-per-view. In his mind,
he did the right thing, though. 100% did the right thing.
I'm not doing the match till we get on pay-per-view. In his mind, we're going to get on pay-per-view sometime in mid-96. We'll build this thing for about 5-6 months. Bada bing, bada boom. Sabu Taz. Let's do it. And I actually don't remember the full story here, but I think they lost an opportunity to be on pay-per-view in 96 because of something that they did. And a lot of pay-per-view service providers were like, they took a look at ECW. Heyman would shop it to these providers. They looked at ECW and they're like, absolutely fucking not. Go fuck yourself. We're not putting that on pay-per-view. You know? But what we got, folks, instead was one of the most legendary long-term American storylines ever. Because Taz returns from his neck injury. He is a shooter. He is the human suplex machine. He has his dojo. And he's actually the first major North American wrestler, Joe, to win matches via tap out.
Mm-hmm. Was
not a thing.
Right. Whenever people watch old matches and the boys are selling and they start slapping the mat, people always go, wait. It's like, no, man, well, that's not a thing at this point.
No. He being Taz was the first guy to do it. And basically, this was the gimmick, folks. Paul Heyman, on-screen promoter and real-life promoter, brought Sabu back because that's the best thing for business. He brought Sabu back because that's what the fans want to see. But what's not the best thing for ECW is to let Taz and him fight at this point in time. Taz is like, fuck that. I'm going to run through this whole roster. And so begins, Joe, in 1996, the path of rage. He is killing jobbers. He is killing mid-carders. He is killing monsters. He's killing imports. He's killing everybody. Because what he really wants is Taz. Sorry, not Taz. It's Sabu. Sabu, meanwhile, hilariously through a lot of this, he's kind of just minding his business and vibing. Like he's just kind of vibing, yeah. He's just vibing. He's having cool matches and shit. He's tagging RVD and stuff. He's like, all right, I'm just gonna behave and do some ECW stuff, you know. Meanwhile, every Taz match, he gets a submission. He crawls up to the camera and he's like, Sabu, I'm gonna get you, Sabu. I'm gonna get you, motherfucker. Don't run from me, Sabu. Stop running from me. Stop running from me, Sabu. Every fucking match, right? And so they do the Path of Rage. It's awesome. You get these cool moments where he uses it, Heyman does, as a booker to get people over. Mikey Whipwreck, historical jobber, never beat anybody. You know, he was the ring crew kid that they started using in matches for angles, more of a character wrestler than a wrestler. He had a match, Joe, where Taz suplexes like 4 jobbers in a row. Random jobbers, killing them, killing dudes, ring crew guys. And then like the guy to run out and put a stop to this is Mikey Whipwreck jumping in, springboard dropkick. And the crowd's like, oh my God, Taz bumped. Taz took a bump. And it's Mikey Whipwreck and he pops back up. And it's like, oh my God, Mikey's going to get something. Gets like a dropkick in. You're like, oh my God. Immediately like T-Bone Taz flex on his fucking dome, choked out, right? But we got a singles match with Taz and Whipwreck like a week later or something. Really fun match. Bottom line, Taz is killing everybody. There was a wrestler named 911 Joe who 911's whole thing was that he popped in to just kill people. Mm-hmm. Big monster. Yeah. Taz submitted 911 as his first major loss. You're like, holy fuck. What does he do when he beats 911? Is he celebrating? No, he's like, where the fuck is Sabu? You know? This is going on a long time. It's a lot of this. It's a lot of Taz crashing interviews, complaining about this. And at some point, Joe, he turns his smoke towards Paul Heyman. And it turns into, you're fucking protecting him from me. Fuck that. It's because you know you're trying to draw money with Sabu. You're trying to sell tickets with Sabu. Fuck that. I'm gonna kill him. And he would tell the fans, the reason why Sabu isn't in front of me is because if I wrestle him, he'll never wrestle again. And Paulie doesn't want that. He knows what I'm gonna do to Sabu. He knows I'm gonna end his career. I'm gonna choke him out. And he knows that's gonna affect ECW. But god damn it, I gotta do it. I don't give a fuck. It's either me or him. And Paulie knows that. And I'm sick of Paulie's shit. And you cut these promos. And again, Paul Heyman, it was hilarious because he would plead his case to the fans. Multiple promos show where he's like, folks, I know you want to see it. I get it. I can't do it. I love Sabu. I love Taz. They're my friends. They can't wrestle. We can't do this, you know? And finally, it's like early 97. They get the whole roster in the ring, Joe. And Paul Heyman has an announcement. Folks, on April 13th, we're getting our first pay-per-view. ECW Barely Legal. The whole roster's in the ring. There's one guy not in the ring, Joe. Taz. Because he's a brooding loner, he's up in like the fucking higher balcony area. Just kind of away from everything. Distant. And Paul Heyman looking at Taz, he says, the first match I'm announcing at Barely Legal It's Taz and it's Sabu. And Taz just kind of has this look on his face, like he's like not selling it. He's just kind of like whatever, you know. Sabu kind of just has like a nod, like, all right, cool. The roster's clapping and shit. And we finally get the match. April 13th, barely legal. ECW's first pay-per-view. Terry Funk, your big hooks, Joe? Terry Funk going for the ECW championship. Can the old man win it at 53? Taz versus Sabu, the fight of the century. Michinoku Pro visits ECW. Your three big hooks. They sell they do, I think, over 60,000 pay-per-view buys, which is like remarkable.
Yeah. And it's well, I mean, it's sidebar, but Terry Funk's promos built into that are like incredible.
They're very emotional. Yeah, they're so good. They're so good. One thing that I should also like mention, Joe, is 97 is probably the year where like the regular wrestling fan starts to like know who Sabu is. It's worth noting. He used to be the word of mouth guy, the legend. 97 is like most people that just watch pro wrestling and watch TV shows know Sabu now because he gets exposure on WWF Raw. And the word of mouth and also just the tapes that would circulate allowed people to know that. Plus, ECW was on VHS by this point, Joe. Like they sold VHS tapes of like their events and things like that. And so now people outside of the East Coast, there's an awareness, you know. And what happens, I think, for the next 3 years, outside of just the Sabu Taz match, which I like, is Sabu's fighting a fight, Joe, with staying important and relevant and novel in a wrestling landscape that is actively beginning to mimic everything that he pioneered.
Right. Yeah.
1997. The NWO is now a year in, and it's changed WCW's product and the grittier angles and all that type of stuff. The stuff that's covered in a trillion documentaries. You don't need to know this from me. WWF, we've known how the product has been changing. They're embracing attitude. But now, to Vince Russo's admission, a lot of what they were doing with their TV was emulating ECW. You watch a Raw in 97, 6 times out of 10, there's going to be a table spot on the show somewhere.
Right. I mean, they actively, you have the ECW invasion episode even. Like, they actively embrace that too, which is wild. Right. I think whatever the modern comparisons that would be, it does not do justice how insane it is that happened on the USA Network, you know? Like,
it's unfathomable. It's unfathomable. And Sabu's debut on WWF television is jumping off the Raw logo on the set straight down into like a pile of people. And you're like, who the fuck was that? You know? It looks like a fan just fucking pulling a weird stunt on the corner. And Sam Heyman's on commentary with Lawler going, he's suicidal, he's homicidal, he's genocide, that's Sabu. He's rushing to try to like explain him to people. But again, one of those weird, he had some matches on WWF Raw too, like just in 97. Yeah. And always made a point to just do insane stuff. But again, table spots are becoming normalized. It's a thing that's now happening on these mainstream shows. How does Sabu differentiate? How does he stay with his edge? Well, his answer, Joe, was to do a match with Terry Funk where the ropes were made out of barbed wire. And this was a match that was very polarizing at the time. And this was a match that Dave Meltzer at the time hated. And he personally reached out to Terry Funk and was just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Terry Funk, 53, ECW champion, takes on Sabu. And if you've never seen this match, folks, they're just kind of like, it's shoot barbed wire and they're just crashing into it. And it's like tearing away at their clothing and their flesh.
Yeah, it's brutal.
By the end of the match, Sabu's like in his boxers. Sabu's bicep gets sliced open and makes a 10-inch gash. And he just tapes it up and keeps wrestling. Keeps wrestling. By the end of the match, folks, the match has to end because they're just stuck to each other. Like they're just both Terry and Sabu are stuck to each other. And if either guy makes a sharp movement, they're probably going to rip a piece of the other man's flesh off. So they have to stand still, stuck to each other. And the roster runs out and people are just cutting the barbed wire that severs the two of them together. They're just cutting it apart. So This match is something to behold, and I think everybody should just watch it and just see it for themselves. It's fucking insane. And again, it's a match, Joe, that a lot of people hated at the time, actually.
Yeah.
Dave was like morally opposed to it, but also just didn't like it. And if you look at Cage Match, what happened over time is quietly, it developed this kind of cult appeal to it. And now people really like the match. And if you look at the Cage Match scores, I'm not looking at it like in front of myself, but I'm pretty sure people veer far more positive now than it was looked at the time and in the early days of Cage Match. So it's an interesting thing to monitor. It's an absolute spectacle, is what I would. Is that what
I would agree with that? Yeah, I think the lore of the injury kind of dominates the memory, and I think people approach it with a kind of a celebration of that. I guess would be the way to put it. I guess. Yeah.
Because it's emblematic of who Sabu is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And again, what I really want to make clear, because it's easy to just talk about the match in a vacuum, Joe. I wanted to kind of make it clear that in the context of 97, he's doing this because wrestling around him is starting to just kind of catch up to his insanity. You know what I'm saying? Like they're all copying each other now and they're copying him. And it's like, what does the original do with on a show with worse production and less distribution and this and that? What does he then do to keep to basically like maintain the one seat on being the crazy man in pro wrestling? It informs a lot of what he's doing. It informed that match. There's another famous match, Stairway to Hell, Sandman. I watched this last night, Joe. And it's, you know what I find funny? I've seen a lot of these matches before, but watching them back, a lot of them I like more now than I ever did, which is fascinating. I think part of it is just Sabu was a good group watch, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Watching Sabu by yourself is like fine. When you watch him like with people that never seen him and you're like, what the fuck? You know, it's just there's a fun to that. ECW as a whole, I think, is a great group watch.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the Stairway to Hell match with Sandman. And there's lore about this match, Joe. Sandman was high on acid. And Sabu was turning into various creatures and monsters right before his eyes.
This match is if you've not watched this match, pause us and watch it because you need to like see it for yourself, you know.
I think it's godly.
You have to see it though, right? Like
yes,
you don't want to have it described to you because it's
no, you just have to see it. Sabu breaks his jaw in this match, Joe.
Yes.
And Bill Alfonso just gets like masking tape and just tapes it. That's Sabu. That's Sabu's 1998. That's Sabu's 1999. Jaws wired shut, wrestling through injuries, his body increasingly getting broken down as, again, pro wrestling is mimicking what he does. By 98, by 99, you get table spots, chair spots, thumbtacks on WWF pay-per-view. By 99, WCW has a hardcore division. By 99, Sabu is no longer, folks, even ECW's ace. He's not even like, again, Joe, 94, 95, he's the guy in the fucking commercials that Paul Heyman is hyping. You got to watch this company to see him. 99, it's watch ECW. You get wrestling you'll never see anywhere else. You'll get Fire, but you'll also get Rob Van Dam. You'll get Taz. You'll get Tajiri. You'll get Super Crazy. You'll get Jerry Lynn. That becomes more of the forefront. And Paul Heyman, by 99, personally begins to see the hardcore thing as something that was becoming passé. He didn't like that. Once WWF took that, he was like, let me like pivot, you know, and he knew I can't totally depart from it because it's who we are. It's a part of what we offer, but that can't be like our thing anymore in the sense that like, that's what we exclusively offer. And that's really why he transitioned more into platforming in-ring styles that you didn't really see at the top of cards on the other companies.
There's a lot of Ring of Honor in late ECW. I mean, obviously the influence there is, you know, I'm not breaking any news with Gabe and so on and so forth, but if you watch late ECW, like you can trace it very clearly, the style, I mean.
110%. And again, he continued to do the Mexican and Japanese imports, and he's absolutely throwing them at Jerry Lynn, at Rob Van Dam, at Tajiri and his guys. And so it's like, what is Sabu's place in this company when that's happening? Plus, he's getting banged up. And also, to make matters worse, Joe, Paul's getting late on these payments. And you know what tends to happen, Joe? If you notice, Paul does actually make his payments for his top guys that matter. Taz wasn't getting fucked a lot when it comes to that. The guys who got fucked with that are the people that Heyman realized were either dispensable or he knew he could just kind of talk like fucking Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, I think the latter is important to note because there are some top guys that he fucked with on pay, but I think it was because he assumed they were naive enough to keep going along with it.
Tommy Dreamer.
I mean, the Mike Awesome one is like he's just upset that Mike Awesome actually looked after himself and took the money, right? Basically. So,
yes. Yeah. And in the case of Sabu, Joe, I think the Sabu one was, I think in his heart of hearts, he was like, if Sabu goes, it is what it is. And as sad as that is, Sabu remains with ECW until the beginning of 2000. Sabu takes an offer from Kevin Sullivan to go to WCW. Paul Heyman fucks him out of a WCW deal, citing, I forgot the exact terminology, but like it was a legal situation.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
Yeah. Sabu,
like, not that he would have done anything good there, but he'd have made money, you know.
He would have made money. He would have signed a multi-year deal. And once WCW folded, he would have been able to sit home and get the guaranteed money for at least another year or two.
Yep.
Sabu doesn't get this deal, which would have been his by far his highest paying deal ever. He does independent dates. He does Japanese dates. He works with XPW and other random feds. He does some MLW eventually. He does some TNA. And Sabu basically just hustles to get paid. No extended time off. No big money contracts. No longer the guy that you can put at the top of a card and advertises, oh my God, this is a big marquee dude. Look at Sabu. It's everywhere. We're now post Hardy Boys with pro wrestling. We're post death matches as being all over the place. Women are doing the death matches. Light tubes are now getting involved. There's fire. There's thumbtacks. It's everywhere. It's not new. Unfortunately, people aren't paying to see now a 40-year-old Sabu do that or chase that. To his credit, though, he does produce some really fun work in TNA. And he does, like I said earlier, some really fun stuff with Rhino and Abyss.
This version of him is awesome, dude.
It's really good. It's some of
like outside threat who's like an emergency lever, you know?
Yes. And I actually love 05 TNA Sabu. And I think it's like some of his best matches.
I agree.
And again, it's not seminal to the trajectory of the business artistically. It's not changing wrestling as a genre. But like, if you're just a newer fan with modern sensibilities who just want to watch like cool matches, you can probably have an easier time if you're not familiar with Sabu, just kind of popping on some of this stuff and watching it. Yeah. Rather than like maybe watching something he'll do in FMW in 92, which is like more weirder and like more novel and transformative. So this is good stuff. And then what also helps Sabu, Joe, is wrestling nostalgia. You can always rely on it. And now we're in the age of ECW nostalgia. The rise and fall of ECW DVD in 2004 is a great seller. It's a big hit. We get One Night Stand in 2005 as a result of it. He does One Night Stand 05. People still love him. He does great in the show. He beats Rhino in a match. He does some cool combo moves with RVD. They call him back in 2006. WWF signs him to a contract. And I'll tell you what, Joe, and maybe it's because in his mind, this is my chance to make real money. He works very hard at the start of this run.
Yes.
And he does so without losing his personal essence, despite being in WWE in 2006. He still feels like Sabu, which is like incredible because, dude, Joe, a lot of those dudes came over and like they lost everything that made themselves awesome within like weeks. But he didn't. You know, he eventually got booked like shit. And ECW and the WWE version of ECW, when they were trying to be a fake revival, wasn't a good show. But Sabu just didn't suck individually. And he didn't. He has a match with Rey Mysterio at One Night Stand 06, which is actually, I don't know if I've ever revealed this. It's my favorite Sabu match. And I think if they went a little further after the double knockout spot, it'd be looked at the same way they look at the Tanaka Awesome match from the year prior. Really fucking awesome match. Highly recommend that Rey Mysterio match.
Yes.
Sabu remains with WWE for about a year. He gets his Mania pay and he fucks off. Like a beast.
Which isn't that a Detroit Mania too?
Yes.
Yeah.
What a
beast.
What a god. And Sabu, the rest of his career, Joe, it's indie dates. He's going everywhere. And again, he's just hustling for his money.
He does some TNA again, though, right?
TNA again. You can always rely on good old TNA. He's bald, which is very off-putting and scary. You know, he's in his 40s.
Yeah.
He's wrestling everywhere, Joe. He wrestled in DDT. He's everywhere. And it's why everybody, Joe, after his passing, had a Sabu story. Because he's a very unique human being. Very much an enigma. Wrestled until quite literally the very end, taking a GCW booking at WrestleMania weekend against Joey Janela at the age of 60. But he came across so many different people in so many different places in so many different companies. And that's why they all have Sabu stories. I have a fucking Sabu story, Joe. This guy is, because he's very online and he's just around, you know, he's like the character that's just around. He once reached out to me in 2021. I don't remember what it was, but he goes like, "Thank you." And I was just kind of like, we exchanged pleasantries, me and Sabu, right? And I just kind of did a very formal, like, how are you? How's everything been? And it's like he can't help but be honest, Joe, because he doesn't know me. And yet he just very bluntly explained the state of his life to me in 2021. And it was like, wow. And, you know, I wish there was like a positive response to this, but the truth was, this is a guy struggling with the passing of his wife, you know, and he said it very bluntly to me. And I remember asking him like basically I was being a total mark. What about your friends from ECW and da-da-da? And he basically was like, "Oh, fuck that. I don't talk to any of these fucking people." You know, and it sucks, but hilariously, I remember saying to him, "Joe, why don't you reach out to Brett Lauderdale?" I said this to him in 2021. And he became cool with the GCW types in the last few years. And it at least seemed on the surface, on the outside from people's tweets and stuff, that like he was in decent spirits, just kind of hanging out with the kids and the boys and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like losing when you're not making big money and you're physically hurting the way he was, and you lost a partner. That can't be easy. It really just cannot. And he didn't hide that. And it's a part of his story that's just kind of unfortunate. So he wrestles to the end, and he faced Janela, and he passed away on Sunday. And he remains somebody that touched so many different people. I did all this recap in bio. I forgot to mention, Joe, that he completely transformed my fandom. The first ECW match I saw of his was Hayabusa and Shinzaki versus Sabu and RVD. That's the first ECW match I've ever watched. And that match made me look up everybody involved, which then led me to Japanese wrestling, which then led me to clicking on what I heard was the biggest Japanese promotion at the time when I discovered this, which was Pro Wrestling Noah. And somehow, some way, I was able to snag an internet link on a site with fucking letters I couldn't even make out. And it was Kenta versus Naomichi Marufuji. And from that point on, the curiosity expanded, and I wanted to read about all these different people and places outside of WWE. And I would just read articles and blogs and things of that nature for all these shows I had zero access to and no money of my own to pay for. But I would read and read and read and read about all these cool places and cool companies like Ring of Honor and Noah. And while doing that, any ECW stuff I could get my hands on, I watched. And I fell in love with all of it. And that through line can be traced all the way back to watching Sabu and Rob Van Dam versus Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki. And it completely transformed how I consumed wrestling and the type of wrestling that I liked and helped me discover more. And it's because of Sabu. And everybody's Sabu story is slightly different because he was around for so long that he touches different generations of fans. There's the 45-year-old plus fan that knew him 10 years before I knew him. And then there's the fans that started 10 years after me that discovered him from just seeing him on the internet. So wherever you land on this as a fan, I think it's fair to say he's somebody that whether you loved him or you didn't like him or you didn't care for his work, there was something striking about the guy. And when you first saw him, you're like, man, he's something else. And I think it's fair to say he's one of the most important people to pro wrestling history because to me, he was the wrestler of the 90s in terms of embodying the attitude and the energy,
the evolution
of it, and also giving wrestling what it needed at that time. So God rest his soul. Rest in peace. Long live the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, death-defying Sabu.
There you go, folks. That was a hell of a shift you put in there, brother. You did you did like a whole history lesson in there. You did some personal touch, whole thing. Pretty cool.
If I went too long, folks, I apologize. I just kind of just went, but
dude, that was the point of the show, right? I said last night when Monty asked me, like, he was going to have a lot more on it. You know, I knew that was going to be the case. I was happy to just sit here and listen, you know?
Yeah, I think from going off that now, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that was valuable audio for you guys.
We need more of that shit, dude. It was awesome. Don't worry about it. Chat, chill out a little bit, please. Like,
what happened?
No, don't worry. Don't worry about it.
Is everything
what you did was great audio. Just, like, chat. He's giving a personal experience about something. GCW booked Sabu a ton of times as a guest. He wasn't linking himself to the Joey Janela match. Like, everyone calm down a little bit. He was giving a tribute to a wrestler he loved who just passed away. You know what I'm saying? Like, just leave it there. All right. Okay, we have a lot of super chats to do.
I thought tragedy.
No, you're good. You're good. It's just there's stuff with GCW and Sabu that people feel a certain way about, and that's fine. We don't know about it because we're here.
Right.
You were linking yourself because what your point was, he's taken a ton of bookings as a guest.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine.
Yes.
I'm only worried because my brother off camera ran down to me. He didn't know what was going on. And he literally said to me, he was saying, like, why is everyone saying Ibu no? Did something happen? And he's like, panicking me off camera as we're talking. If it's sad, folks, listen, I get it. I get it. I do get it. I get it. But no, I was just trying to just tell the story. It is.
You did great. Don't worry about it. I just was trying, like.
I get it. I was just figuring out what's happening.
You're fine.
With that said, folks, we're gonna just go through these super chats, and then I'm gonna give Joe some time to,
Fuck, bro, I'm not doing that today.
You want to delay it?
I ain't following your 80-minute Sabu monologue with here's what I've got for Alexa Bliss, bro. You know, I'm not doing that. It was great, man. Let's still have super chats, we'll bounce, and we can do that any other time.
Sure. I'm gonna go pee. I don't know why I said it. But do your thing. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
He was gonna go pee. All right. If there's any super chats that are Bert centric or not Ibu centric, at least, feel free, Monty, to throw some my way, and I'll chip away at the 22 super chats that we have ahead of us still. I don't know if Montel WP is in Gorilla or not. I cannot put the super chats on the screen. We may be in for a ride. There we go. Beautiful. Our guy Rob says, cutting grass, listening to the boys. Hell of a time there. Just Ibu telling tales. Hope you had a good evening, Rob. Hope it was a fun listen. Thank you for the super chat. Rob, of course, on the Raw review. What else have we got here, brother? Amari says, what's your most pretentious wrestling opinions? This is definitely Ibu's specialty. Me personally, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty chill with this stuff. I know today was a big day for this debate and such. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. Everyone can kind of just do their thing. It is what it is. I don't know if I have one, really. If the chat has any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Ibu, I'm certain will. When Ibu gets back, I'll ask him. He has 101 pretentious opinions, Amari. I'll get back to you on that when he returns from his piss here in a moment. Bro went full ECW. Go Birds, as they were calling her Becky Hogan, by the way. Yeah, we pushed back on that some yesterday, just kind of the over-analysis of wrestling politics and such. But big weekend for Becky Lynch. And as we discussed last night, I think one of her best performances in some time. Thank you for the super chat. Go Birds. The Solar Monster fan that Ibu is such a big fan of says, I feel like the women's division of the WWE side is missing a dominant monster heel. It's not Nia anymore. Who would you guys choose? Well, I think it is Nia. It's just a matter of whether you're satisfied with that as the pick, right? I think they absolutely still have Nia slotted in that role. I mean, they brought her back to TV with a title program. As for who it should be, I don't know who the candidates would be for that under the WWE umbrella right now. Monster? I wouldn't be so sure. I mean, I think Lash Legend has a great deal of size, as does Jade Cargill, but I don't know about like monster heel, you know. I don't know if that's the way I would slot them necessarily. Any candidates for this, Ibu?
Monster heel, it's tough.
It's still Nia, right?
It is Nia. Nia is the
Yeah.
actual answer. She just fucking beat Jade Cargill, folks.
Right, exactly. Question you missed, most pretentious wrestling opinions. Because I don't really, maybe I do, but I don't think I have these really. I like too much weird shit in it.
I feel like I have them, but I can't. I don't remember off the top of my head. You know,
What are you saying about like Jey Uso or something?
Jay's fine. He's whatever.
I'm just fucking with you.
I do find myself mentally judging a lot of people's posts. You know.
Yeah, but that's just part of being an adult.
Yeah, that's true. It's not as pretentious. It's just,
yeah.
It's more me scrolling on. Look at this guy who doesn't know shit about shit. You know. And just continue to scroll.
And then sending it to me. Vernacular says, self-made Sabu stream last night was sick. Getting to see Taz cut promos at the height of his power changed my brain chemistry. RIP Sabu. I heard great things about the self-made thing, bro.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. We watched so much, and I feel like we still didn't even scratch the surface on his career, but that's gonna happen when you're watching 8 matches out of a guy who was as impactful as him. My favorite thing was watching Taz's promos, Joe, because as you may or may not know, Paul Heyman would just let the camera roll and just let guys just talk for as long as possible. And with Taz, it's awesome because he'll cut a 4-minute promo where he'll say the same thing 3 times. But there's a tone to it that's just so severe. And it's so well delivered that you let it rock. But he'll literally cut a promo where he'll just be like, the day is coming. It's almost here. I can feel it. I can taste it. And on the 13th, I'm going to choke you out, Sabu. And that's the content, right? That's how he opens it, right? He has 3 more minutes to fill. And he'll just circle back to like, it's me. It's you. It's a wrestling ring. I'm telling you, Sabu.
It's wild too because Taz has told the stories about like Paulie had to bully him into talking,
which is crazy. Right? He's
yeah, and this is what he's made his living off since, bro. Yeah. Like
and he'll do that, and he'll be like, "I'm telling you, Sabu, the 13th, there's nowhere to run. I'm telling you, I'm gonna choke you out."
It's pretty good, Taz, bro. Good stuff. You're back on Super Chat, dude. By the way, now you got a 5-minute break.
Oh,
back to work, kid.
Ryan Cicchini, $6.99 Canadian. Heard Pat kind of hint he didn't think the match would go as long as it did. That's what happens when you book only 5 matches. Yeah, it happens. I have nothing to add to the Pat McAfee Gunther conversation that you guys didn't cover yesterday, truthfully. Joe, I apologize. This is very unprofessional. You're gonna have to take the next super chat. I gotta run real quick and do.
You pissing again, bro?
No, I
got a health problem, son.
I had a noise upstairs. I gotta check. Okay. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
But yes, we did discuss that on length yesterday, right? And I think he was on the same page. Just I think any of us disliked it, myself, Monty, and Ibu, that is, but it was certainly a chunk too long. A trim would have helped it considerably, definitely. Okay, what do we have up next here? Not just Toffee says All In and Evolution on the same weekend might have the potential to be an all-timer weekend of wrestling. Yeah, it seems like the report, I think it's PW Insider, said the 13th for Evolution, and I guess Saturday night's main event too. So it's crazy. There's 101 things going on. There's a lot happening Just from the big two, there's so much to keep up with, but that will certainly be a big weekend. Obviously, All In, a monster show for AEW and Evolution. Since 2018 was the last one, so the only one. So yeah, that's a big weekend for sure.
I'm back.
Yes, mate.
I'm gonna be completely transparent. So I'm in my area to do the podcasting, right? And upstairs I hear the voice of my brother going, "Oh my god, oh my god," and I'm thinking like he just found out someone died. And so I run up. I'm like, "Is everything okay?" And he goes, "The Mavs got the number 1 pick," which is crazy. That is crazy. I think that's rigged. That feels very mafia. But anyway, yeah, the Mavs got the number 1 pick in the draft. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. My
Insane.
God. Damn. Ryan says, "What a week for Becky and Julia, reminding people how good they are. Neither technical wizards or crazy athlete, but they just have that it factor." See what Ryan did here, the way he paired these two names.
Becky and Julia.
The way he subtly, I don't feel this is an agenda of some sort with Ryan that I'm not familiar with, but I respect it. I don't disagree with it. It's just popped me.
Yeah. You know what? Julia's back in my good graces because she was incredible on Tuesday. I actually think it's one of the best matches of her career. So.
She's cool as fuck. I don't think she's very similar to Becky, but like this description does fit them both. So
yeah, hilariously, that match is like actually being underrated by like certain circles. Like
which one?
Jordan and Julia, because like I like the tag that they did the week before with the EO and stuff, but it was more like just kind of cute and nice than like this blow away incredible match, And Dave, for whatever reason, gave that 4.5. And it was like, all right, Dave. And then
just vibing, bro.
Yeah. And then a week later, this match, which is like legitimately like one of the best fed matches of the year, like the best women's match ever to take place in that building. And he you could tell like he wanted to just eyeball it, and was like, all right, 4.5. I'll just go right in the middle, 4.25. Which that is my rating of the match. But like my scale and Dave's scale are, as we know, they're different scales.
Yeah, like, that tag was really fun, but like 4.5 stars does feel aggressive to me, but
right. And then again, his scale is just different. So like if I'm giving a match, if I think a match is a 4.25, Joe, I expect Dave to throw a 5. I'm gonna just be completely honest with you. Like that's how this normally goes.
Dave tax.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Danny Kwong, $4.99. Out of pure curiosity, who would you pair Adam Copeland with at Forbidden Door? What? And has he expressed any general interest in working for Forbidden Door? Why does he have to be on that show?
I feel like he's more. I mean, I guess the idea would be that he comes back, works against FTR with a New Japan grappler, and then he needs Christian to be his partner. I guess would be the idea that Danny's looking for here.
That would be interesting. I'm not sure who that would be, but if I had to think of someone that would fit, you could do Oiwa or a Shota.
It should be an old fella.
Yes, who would that be though on this roster? Do you do Ishii? I mean, I can do Ishii. I can live with that.
Let's do Ishii, bro.
Let's do all right. Fuck it. FCR versus Edge and Ishii. Okay, cool. I'll rock with it. Sway $5. Is Triple H aware that a lot of the product is ass right now? Backlash was better than what I thought, but there's truth in what Will was saying. Self-made FC. He has his. I mean, this is kind of a weird question. Here's the thing. He has had conversations with creative about what I talked about this like 2 weeks ago. He's had conversations about what he wants like Raw and SmackDown to be, and I already talked about this. Women's show on one, tag show on the other one. And, he's assessing things broadly every few weeks when it comes to that. Beyond what I'll say about this is this. He is aware sometimes when he feels that there's things about the product that are stagnating, but that's also the reason why the Heyman stable was made. And it's also why last week he surrendered a lot of that show structurally and also content-wise to Paul. He just literally just gave Paul like an hour of Raw last week to just kind of do his thing. And to me, that's an admission of, I don't know what you want from me, man. Paul, what you got? Which I think you said this before, Joe. That's not inherently an awful thing for a booker to just kind of like pass the ball,
Yes, I think there's a myth that the bookers of history just like booked every single thing on their show, and it was never ever that way. Like top guys always had influence on their angles, and
Mhm.
Often would book their own angles, so on and so
Mhm.
forth. That's why they would become the booker, you know?
Yes.
Um, I do think you could probably you wouldn't have to reach very far, I think, to make an argument that he's like Triple H's kind of creative window is not the longest.
Mhm.
I think NXT gives you pretty ample evidence of that, but that's another conversation for another day. The way
Right.
Sway phrased this was incredible, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's just a case of again, bookers, they do their playbook, and when it's new to you, like it transforms the product and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool, this is cool. And then when you just know all the plays that they run and you've been
Yeah,
familiar with it for like a couple of years, like the pull apart doesn't hit the same in 2025 that it did
no.
in 2023.
It's a 2-year job, bro. Like history has taught us this 101 times over. There's very few exceptions to that.
Joe, this is Triple H's playbook. Stables, pull apart brawls.
Yeah.
The real heavy emphasis on vignettes and video packages, which I actually philosophically agree with. There was one I'm forgetting that was funny.
Shots of skylines.
Exactly. There's one that I'm forgetting. That's such a Triple H play call. But he has like 4 angles that he does, and again, they're not inherently bad ideas or angles. It's not a bad playbook, but it is a very like specific playbook that we've now seen it on main roster TV for 3 years. You know, the TV you're like, all right. And so what he does when he feels like he's getting cooked, Joe, or when he just feels cooked overall, the last historically 2022 Joe, hilariously Joe, he felt cooked 3 months in, which is very funny.
Mm-hmm.
He felt cooked and he was like, we need Regal, you know? And now he's like, Paul, help, you know, and that's what he's doing on the Monday TV.
Familiarity breeds contempt, dude. Once you get someone's pattern, you're gonna like if you watch it closely, it'll probably drive you nuts sooner than later.
Dude, do you remember like how like 2023 AEW started like make us all like just break mentally? Just like knowing like all of Tony's habits and shit.
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
True. Votism, $5. What do y'all think the end game of the Io, Rhea, Julia, Roxanne storyline stuff is? Good question. We're gonna find out tonight. Not the end game, but like maybe a better idea of what this is. I was told that Hunter wants to do a big Julia Rhea match. Hilariously, he's decided, Joe. Like this was actually actively expressed and told to me. So people were like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone's gonna want to see Io and Julia," and he was kind of like, "The big one's Rhea and Julia," and it's like that's fascinating. He just has a fascinating brain. Like I'm not even saying that's right or wrong. It's just that's just interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So he does want to do Julia and Rhea as a big match. I think Roxanne is gonna. I think that's also why subtly they've kind of set that up a little bit. And Roxanne is doing the head-to-head stuff with Io a lot. I think they're going to do a title defense there at some point. What's the end game? I don't know. When I asked creative about just this angle in general, they just told me it's leading to Evolution. That's all they told me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's an angle that necessarily has an end game, like it's an arc being complete. It's going to give them a bunch of different matches, isn't it? Basically.
Yes. It's and hilariously, I don't know if Paul has any fingerprints on that. I don't know. I don't think he does. I mean, he consults him on all this stuff, but a lot of its construct, Joe, is very similar to just the SmackDown 6 era tag division. In that,
Where's Chavo?
that's a good point. That would make it even better, you know. Io and Chavo, that would be so steady.
It would, bro. It'd be such a fucking slick freestyle match.
Oh
Slick.
my goodness. CN €5. I keep forgetting I'm the super chat reader, so like there's like a 1 second where I'm
I've
like,
noticed, yeah. It's kind of driving me nuts because every time I'm about to go, you go and you remember.
Yeah.
It's you, bro. It's happened a few times, but
CN €5. What are some matches you'd like for Evolution? I'd like Io Julia, Roxanne Lyra, Bailey Becky, Jade Tiffany with Naomi cashing in, Jay wins. I like your card. What do I just want to see the best wrestlers on it. That's really all like throw them against whoever, bro. I'm getting to your point, Joe, in the sense that like this is gonna sound weird. People will tweet things like, "What are your dream matches?" And I'm like, I don't have any. Everyone's good, man. You know what I mean? Like everyone's good. Just you know what I mean? Like it's like everyone.
Yeah.
It's like whatever they choose to like. Just give me good people wrestling. I don't have dream matches.
I mean, I would say I like this card, but like, what would be the main event here?
See what I'm saying? I feel like they'd make it Bailey Becky.
See, I don't like the idea of Evolution being Bailey Becky rather than like Lyra beating Becky in the blow off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think Becky's going to win the middle chapter and win the belt back. And then I think Bailey is going to return in the finish of Lyra beating it back from Becky in the trilogy ender. I think that's what's happening.
I will say that I like King's card. If ever there was a card that wasn't one of the big four, whatever they call it now, to be not 5 matches, like
this is one where, yeah.
Come on, man. You know?
Do 6 or 7 and make one of them like a big person, like multi-person tag.
There should absolutely be a weird all-star tag. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
In a perfect world, I mean, there's enough talent now that you could do 8 matches if you wanted to, but they won't. They'll do it.
Do you remember that Forbidden Door 10-man with like King and...
It was awesome. It was like one of the best matches on the show.
They should shoot to do something like that with the division.
Completely
It could be weird. Yeah.
Especially since when I asked stuff, like they were like, yeah, NXT will be involved. I'm like, if you're putting NXT in this show, dude, like you could do so many fucking matches.
You could do a 10-woman tag and it's got a couple legends, a couple NXT names, main roster names, you know, it could be interesting.
I'll be the one to break the seal on this. It is what it is. I'm not trying to start discourse, but you know, I do hope this is not a Bella's Lita Trish oriented show, respectfully.
I think you'd be well served to approach each of those names individually.
Yes. However, I don't think we need nostalgia in that way. So here's the thing. I think the classy thing to do, because look, it's gonna be a 5-match show. That's what these fuckers do. If it's 5, then we don't need them like taking up an in-ring spot, in my opinion, unless it's a tag in the opener. But generally, my approach would be to handle it in a classy way where you nod to them, you highlight them, you mention them. They can be there. They can be in the crowds for some of them. But I would not do a thing where it's like Nikki Bella's in the top angle leading to Evolution.
You know? No, I wouldn't do top. I would have no problem with Nikki Bella being booked. Trish the same, because I think Trish showed in that Becky match. Like Trish is fucking game. I wouldn't have her in a main event match, but I would happily have her on the card.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I need to see Lita wrestle, to be honest. Lita's cool as fuck, but like, yeah. I think beyond those names, I do think there's some truth to your point of like, you know, I don't know how deep in the role addiction you get at this point, you know?
Yeah. You remember where like they needed to dig into the divas just to fill out a women's rumble?
Yeah, exactly. Like I do think there's something to be said for making this representative of what the division is now.
Yeah.
We'll see what it looks like. I'm with you, man. Like it's one of those things. Let's just see what you know. Once we see what it looks like, we'll be able to gauge better, right?
Yep. Jesus McWheel, $4.99. Reading the death of WCW and the booking from 98 to 2000 is absurd. Nothing in WWE or AEW today remotely compares. I can't understand why people watch. I think people just liked wrestling enough, and wrestling was hot enough that like WCW could just still maintain 3 million people to watch that awful show. And it
was terrible.
It was horrendous. And you know, people say throw 2000 WCW as a cliche to describe things, but like genuinely, I think it's like the worst American wrestling TV of all time. Like by some distance. You got to think about it this way: 99 is a pile of shit, and if you watch 99, like it's just a pile of shit. And then imagine watching that and going, it gets worse. Like it feels unfathomable, and yet it's true. So, and the thing about it is, people will do this thing and go like, you can watch it ironically and laugh, and it's like some of it, yeah, but like if you like legitimately just sit through like full shows, like and like run through a couple of them in a row, like you legitimately feel like brain fog afterwards. Like you're like,
especially 99, I think.
Yes,
99, 2000. There's a fun to how bad it is. It's ridiculous. 99 is just tragic. Like they're just actively decimating a monster they've built. You know, it's sad.
And it's hilarious because look, there are many people, we see it every day, that are vocal about how much they don't like the Attitude Era of WWE or like 99 and stuff. And like wherever you stand on that, it says something, Joe, that like at the time amongst hardcore fans, they're like, no, that's the good show, and that's the show that's so much better than the other show. Right. You know what I mean? Like it was compared favorably to like the other show. So Jesus Lord, I'm getting like chills, like visualize. Let's go to the next super chat. Play stage WCW, man. Surfer $4.99. Punk and Cena should not be overbooked like Orton Cena. Boo boo. Do you know when their match will take place? It's I don't know the concrete dates, so I'm not gonna be a fraud and just like guess and pretend. So I'm gonna refrain from that one. But
We all agree about the overbooked part, definitely.
yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm asleep for anything John's gonna do outside of Punk, so I might actually protest everything he does, Joe. To be completely honest with you,
That's good for you, Boo Boo.
yeah. Black Yakuza 94 $5 gonna say, really appreciate your story about Sabu. Always love hearing a wrestler's history. Wish you had more Ebus and less TikTok kids.
He is a TikTok kid, man. You're a big TikTok guy.
I don't even have the app.
Yeah, same. I hate when people send it to you and you can't see anything.
I was just gonna say, Isra used to always text me TikToks, and I'd be like, Isra, I have no way of opening this.
I can't see it. Yeah,
I can't see it. But sometimes you'd click it and you could see it without opening it. But Black Yakuza, I really do appreciate that. And again, I just hope I did Sabu justice with the fucking 70 minutes I feel like I spent talking about him. Riley Walker, $2. ECW Originals New Breed 4307 on ECW on Sci-Fi.
yeah. I've heard this is good.
I'm morally opposed to some of this stuff, but it isn't like awful.
Apparently, this match is like a bit of a hidden gem, is what I hear.
Here's the thing about it. When I was younger, I hated ECW on Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Because my only benchmark for judging it was, does this resemble the original ECW? To a T. That was my only benchmark. And I was like, no, it doesn't. This show is awful. The thing is, by 07, they accept that. They just do a different thing. And the ECW originals, they just focus on them as, yeah, we're the old guard, and it's a landscape that's changing, and we're fighting to survive in it. And in a weird way, if you watch back some of that early to mid 07 stuff, it's a little better because it's not trying to be an emulation of the old ECW.
It gets even better when they go beyond the originals altogether.
Exactly. When it's just literally just a WWC show, it's like pretty solid.
Like the best show they have.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really funny. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. What was that? Go back. Do we even cover that one? The Chi-Town? I don't think we did. Look at you, Montel, just zipping through.
Chi-Town Spurs?
Yeah, it was Chi-Town Spurs' thing.
I don't know. We'll circle back. I'll have a look for it.
Ish 1999 Scorpio Sky plans. There aren't any. There were people that believed in the private party idea, and then the idea got dropped because that was the period of AEW where ideas were getting dropped every week. So there you go. He's under contract.
It was just Chi-Town having fun with. The quote was, "We're going to ruin wrestling podcasts." So he implied we were doing a Cena tribute with our first 20 minutes of this show.
Yeah, I thought we were trending in a really awful direction, and I kind of embraced it and accepted it. But then, like, you had too much professional pride, so you started taking bumps. And then me seeing that was like, I can't let him bump out there and not at least do something. So,
yeah, I did that like 10-minute conversation about crowds just to get you going, and then I just sat back. And
I could tell that's what that was. I could tell you were doing the thing where you were like, getting the engine started on my brain, literally. That's what that was.
I didn't give a fuck about any of that, but man, I was bumping.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. As we're doing this, I'm like, Joe doesn't actually care, but he's trying to get my brain flowing so that I get in Ebu mode where I'm just yapping about
wrestling. Just wanted you to carry me, bro. Come on.
Corey David, $2. Thoughts on Baby Randy Miles Born push? You know what's funny about this, Joe? This is the biggest indication of Shawn Michaels booking something in a while, and people were like, Shawn is an unserious booker. I'm like, this is what booking actually is, you know. For a while I thought, look, NXT's men's division is awful. It's like fucking moribund, right? But there are some gems that if you kind of like look into what they have and exploit them more, there's something there. And I do like the no quarter catch crew kids. Tavion Heights is somebody that they should absolutely do more with.
Yeah.
Miles Bourne isn't super far behind. And so in a men's division as awful as NXT's, why the fuck would you not just give these people a chance? And so for a random BPLE title defense for Obafemi, yeah, let Miles Bourne fucking wrestle him and see what happens. I embrace this, and I think they should do more of it. That's actually a booker taking a risk and trying to evaluate what they have.
I agree.
you get more out of that than respectfully giving like Ethan Page like a title match at this stage of the game, even though Ethan Page is a pro.
I do think, and I like Miles Bourne from what I've seen. I think they should be careful with the Orton thing.
You know who hates it, Joe? Meltzer. It makes him really mad.
It's like he's still on TV.
Yeah. He has some, and the funny thing is he's a shooter and he does have individual quirks, but the crowd started to like point out the Randy stuff, and then they started to like embrace it weirdly. And so now he's taking Randy's scoop power slam, and you're like, all right, man.
It's just the problem is and again, I like the talent, but if you're wrestling matches and people are thinking of Randy Orton, that doesn't do much for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corey. Ish 999. Jack Perry plans him showing up in Anarchy. Come on, boo boo. Ish is ribbing me. He does this thing, Joe. Here's the thing. Ish does this thing where like he does ribs and jokes, and like it's very clearly satirical, and it still makes me mad. And it just pisses me off. But he's giving me money, so it's a weird.
I was gonna say it's a good rib.
I was gonna say it's a weird emotional thing to kind of like figure out. You know, like he's pissing me off, but he's also paying me. I think that's the thing. He just wants to like annoy me, but he's paying me. He does this in the Discord too. What he does, Joe, is he'll like parody every question I'm ever asked on these shows. And so he'll be like, Perry plans? This plans? What's going on here? Are the women going to main event, Ibu? What's main eventing all in? And he'll just throw it in a long message. And I know he's joking. And yet, just the sight of these questions is making me want to punch a wall. You know, but
does he often call you Boo Boo?
That's a new thing. That's a new one.
Yeah. Just always evolving, bro.
Everyone has a new nickname for me. Mookie Summers, wrestler who was recently booked by Beyond. He calls me Big Booster, which is hilarious. He calls me Uncle Boo. And then he revealed that the original Uncle Boo is Sabu, and so I'm now the second Uncle Boo. So that's fair. And then today in the Self-Made Discord, we realized that there's a third Boo. You know, there's Big Boo, which is myself. There's Big Boo, Sabu. And then there's the other Big Boo, which is Big Boosa, Hayabusa.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
How often do people come up to you with 8x10s from the Fightful run?
It's tough, man. I was up there in New York. I was on the TV. I main evented a couple of those TVs, but like they don't talk. I was side by side with Cena and Seth Rollins, you know, Big Me, Jason Jordan, but people don't remember this.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I just wonder how much merch didn't get out there, you know, like the shirt and the.
I read on the Observer that Fightful's open to, you know, bringing me back, but I
bet they are. Did they go get rid of all the figures and the?
Yeah, but I don't know. I reached out to HR. I reached out to talent relations, like what's going on with that, and I got a vague answer from like one of the pencil pushers saying that they might bring me back on a developmental shot, and I don't know.
Maybe you'll be like Braun Strowman, and you'll be like a special attraction who gets his own TV show.
Maybe I just pop in a Rumble, and then they wait to see what the pop is.
Oh shit, that's good stuff, bro.
Yeah.
I hope you get a Funko Pop. That'd be funny.
Oh no. I've been tempted for a while. I've been tempted to just like mobilize my audience to just like make a hashtag for me, but that's like too embarrassing. That's a level of shame that even I won't cross. You know what I mean? I do think I legitimately think about. I'm like, I could get 350 people to do an Ibu hashtag, you know. But I'm like,
what would it be though? Like,
bring back Ibu or some shit. I don't know. But the thing is, two things. Number one, that's a level of shame that even I won't cross. And number two, I'm the one that resigned. So like
that would be that, and this covers some serious ground. That'd be your worst idea ever.
Yeah, it'd be really bad. Especially if I got exposed. Like you imagine a screenshot of like everyone tweet hashtag da da da. You know, I can't do it. And again, like I said, I'm the one that resigned. So it's just like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, when like you walk out before you even get the opportunity to get fired, you know, it's like, no, I left, man. You know, gotta do it sometimes. Final boss, 199 pounds. Big match Phil in 2013 was God. He always delivered. I agree. One of the best wrestlers in the world.
He's a good wrestler, bro.
Love CM Punk. He's cutting a promo tonight. And I'm gonna give you guys an interesting stat, Joe. You'll probably be surprised by this. Joe, this is gonna be CM Punk's first promo in like 6 weeks. He hasn't spoken on Fed TV in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the last one he did?
When he revealed that Heyman would be in his corner. He has not spoken since then.
Are you sure about this, dude?
Yeah. After that, Seth Rollins was circling Paul in a promo, and Punk ran out to save Seth. To save Paul, and then Seth curb stomped him. Then he did Mania, and then on the Raw after Mania, he got beat up by Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. And then he missed a couple weeks of TV. And then
What do you
last,
think he's gonna say?
so that's the thing. I have a little bit of a scoop here.
Oh no.
Actually, no, let's not frame this as a scoop because then people are gonna like with the antennas.
Yeah.
Joe, you want to know why Punk hasn't cut promos on TV?
Why? I just dropped my phone. Why?
I have nothing interesting to say.
That's the thing. He did have to talk a lot for a long time when he couldn't wrestle. So yeah.
Yeah, he did. I just think that's interesting as a performer that he was just kind of like, what the fuck do you want me to fucking say? So
it's also tough when his promos are advertised as like an attraction for the show, so he has to put a certain amount of time in too. It's tough.
Which is why it's Joe. Just picture this: Punk coming to TV, and they're like, "All right, so we're gonna do an angle. Like, you want to say something here?" And he's like, "No." They're like, "You sure?" He's like, "Seth's gonna say this. Then do you want to come out with your mic and say this?" No. And it's like, so what do you want to do? I'm gonna run out and double leg him, and then it's gonna end with a fucking fight. That was a lot of his appearances. Just
he's gonna do one of his yelling promos tonight. I think
one of those like he's pacing around, his face is in the camera. Braun Breaker.
Yeah. He'll be like, I was listening to the Corner Experience.
There's gonna be one thing on there that's either a weird reference, an obscure reference, a shot at AEW, or a vague Cornette coast. One of those four things. There's always a Punk promo.
That's what I was actually, because it wasn't the Cornette so much as what you're alluding to here. Is there's always in Punk's big promos, there's always one thing he says that causes like immense debate and scrutiny.
What's even happening in Grabs that could cause him to do that now? Is the thing,
He'll say something about like press conferences or something, and
he could also he's not afraid to take a mild shot. He's not afraid to give his opinion on something happening in his own company. Like right after Hogan got booed, he took a shot at Hogan the next week.
He's gonna be talking about Braun Breaker, and he's gonna be like, "I'm done working with children, brother." And
then crowd's kind of like, all right, and then like people like, CM Punk took a shot and it got no pop.
Michael Cole like pisses down his leg.
Exactly. He's gonna be like, Braun Breaker, you're gonna need strength and conditioning to deal with me, brother. And you're
fuck.
all right, strength and conditioning.
Do you remember when he did the promo where he's like talking events and he lists off some of the guys they released?
Yes.
He does that.
Oh my, could you?
But like, it's just the names are different.
In this place, it's Killer Be Killed, and I got a lot of friends. Braun Breaker, you don't got guts like Braun Strowman. Like I don't know. There's no deft way to name these people.
No, there's not. No.
There's no.
Who did he name? He named Gallows, didn't he? Gallows and Chris Masters.
He named John Morrison too.
Maybe I think Davey Boy. I think got a shout out.
The funniest thing was Vince's face. He was kind of just like, "What the fuck you want from me?"
Vince is trying to figure out who they were.
Surfer $4.99. Boo Boosie.
Too far.
Give me any Kenny Omega scoops, big bro.
Come on. Not even anything specific, just anything. Anything you got.
What do I got on Kenny? He's probably going to be in Anarchy in the Arena. You're welcome.
Oh, you prick. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. That was my instinctual reaction to what you just said.
My expectation, at least as of a week ago, was that his match at Okada's main eventing All In.
Yes.
$4.99. Tony Khan's still mad at you, Scoop Boy? No. By the way, Logan Paul title plans, he's not winning them. CM Punk working Saudi? Doubt it. Cheerios, lad. Thank you. Final boss, 199 pounds. Big match Phil in 2013 was godly already. Always delivered. I saw this already. Thank you. Mike M, $2 Canadian. This is awesome chant jumped the shark a while ago. Yeah, see, like that match, that chant happened when like a guy went through fire, and now it happens when like two guys do a slow double down 3 minutes into a match.
Yeah, we got a couple sad ones tonight, I think.
Who us tonight?
Yeah, you know when we did like the pretend wine session stuff we did on this show. We both sold, and the people just kind of went, "Oh, I guess so. This is awesome." Yeah.
If you know, see, as we're doing this bullshit talk, right? I could feel myself going, man, we used to be so good at this part of it. It was like trying to do Tarantino banter, but like not having it. And you know what I compare it to? It's like when Jerry Lynn and RVD in like 2013 try to do their kind of slow duck, kick, flip under bullshit. And then at the end of it, they enter a fight stance at the end of the sequence. We did that like really, really fucking slow. We're like, yeah, Joe, eat your breakfast. And you're like, yeah, you know, man.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I started blacking out. I was looking around, I felt like I was at the impact zone, you know. Shit was sad, man.
Oh man,
I did a tope and I like slipped and hit my foot on the rope.
Genuinely, when I'm on air with you, I never think about like how am I gonna fill time. I had a 1 minute deer in headlights moment.
Yeah, so like, I've had about 2 hours and 36 minutes. Just
I was like, what is going on? Yeah. Yuzora Heart $2. Meat is the worst hand wrestling. It is awful.
The saddest meat chant ever was when poor Sam Joe was out there trying to grapple with Keith Lee.
I gotta say, I love Will Hobbs.
Yeah.
I love Will Hobbs. But he needs to stop encouraging it, because now Joe, what he does is when he's doing his corner lariats, he'll do one and then look up at the crowd, meat, and then do it. And he's basically telling them, chant meat now.
He's better than that, bro.
You're better than that, Will. Stop doing that shit.
He's so awesome, man.
He's awesome. I give him a world title.
Same.
Ibu Mania 14, 199. Listen, if Ibu Mania is as good as 14 is as good as Mania, WrestleMania 14, I mean, I'd be very happy. Mariah May SummerSlam type shit. I don't know. Joe, you know what was funny? I got kind of mad at the self-mader. They're like, what's Mariah May's WWE debut going to be? And I kind of yelled at him. I was like, brother,
they don't have creative for that, man.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you...
They don't know what's on SmackDown yet. They don't know what Mariah May's doing.
Plus, very rarely will I get a hold of the creative plans of a person that hasn't even arrived in that promotion yet. I got it for Bobby and the Hurt Syndicate, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, that was different because people knew Bobby and the Hurt Syndicate, you know, when they were leaving like 2 years ago. So,
right.
Yeah.
Generally, WWE is not going to leak that to people because they still pretend that they don't talk to these talents until they're free from their contracts. So there you go.
But again, like genuinely, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think if they're going to get Mariah, they're excited to get her, and they think a lot of Mariah. I don't think she's at a point where they would have like creative etched, ready to go at this point.
No, I think she comes in, they sit down with her, and they go like,
and figure it out. Yeah,
and they throw stuff at her, and then that's when Hunter turns around from the scene. He's like, "You're gonna really do some good stuff in NXT, I think." And then she kind of makes a face where she's trying not to sell. And then Sean emerges bow-leggedly and kind of like walks over.
Oh, come on, bro.
Punches over, and he's just kind of like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking you and Jada Parker." And, you know, and Mariah May again tries not to sell. And then
what if she joins Fatal Influence and they start throughout the four?
I'm going to shout out Les Owens because he quoted Les's cynical quote tweets are so funny. He quoted a clip of like Fatal Influence talking backstage, and I forgot how he worded it, but it was so funny. And he basically was just like, Mariah May setup. And I was just dying laughing. Oh, my God. Thank you, Ibu Mania.
What Ibu Mania do you think you're up to?
Well, Ibu Mania says it's 14.
Yeah, but is he at 14 or you? I don't know.
That's a good question.
This is a new super chat. Mariah May at SummerSlam and book it.
I thought I read that.
No, it's a different one.
Oh, I wouldn't book that. I wouldn't book that. Go Birds XTL $4.99. What would be better? HBK booking SmackDown, Road Dogg booking NXT. Sean booking SmackDown.
Easily. Yeah.
Sean booking SmackDown.
He would do stupid shit, but he would try stuff and have ideas. Like
you'd open up a TV and like LA Knight would like he'd wrestle like fucking. You'd get like LA Knight tagging with like Who's a random mid carder? They don't do mid card now.
That's the thing. The roster would mix up a lot more. Right now, everyone lives in their own little bubble, don't they?
Right, exactly. And on a Shawn SmackDown, Andrade would tag with Damian Priest against like fucking like the Bloodline, and you'd be like, what? You know, like just weird stuff. Yeah, Jacob Fatu would wrestle Nathan Frazier. Like Shawn would book that.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So there you go. Go Birds. It would be Shawn, even though I don't think Shawn's a good booker, but I do like Shawn.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing to balance. Caden Lee of the Dance, 199. Elu, what are your plans for Pride Month? I didn't have any, but I do hope that like wrestling companies acknowledge this, even though that shouldn't be the priority. But yeah, man, shout out to in the words of Ray J, shout out to my gay niggas. Real quote. Real quote. I know what you want from me. Give me backshot Solomons for $2. Adam Silver is going to hell. Coop to Dallas. Fuck out of here. Yeah, it feels rigged. Chicken Owl, $2. What changed in AEW booking in 2025 got way better?
In the weeds, brother.
Tony's in the weeds. They stopped booking people niggas aren't trying to see.
Well,
yeah, they're working on that. They stopped dropping storylines. That was a big problem in December and in November. They were just like dropping things like every 2 weeks. DG had like a new feud every 3 weeks. But,
yeah, it does feel like they've returned to planning on some level.
Yes, that's the actual big thing. They've had All In mapped out for a minute.
They've also like prioritized the floor of the TV by putting quality action on, which they went away from for a while. Do you remember that?
When like Dynamite matches were like not that good.
Yeah, like they now realize if you put like one of those party matches on there, the floor of the TV is pretty high, man.
Yeah, they go out of their way now to make sure there's at least one like really appealing.
And storyline wise, it's much more like they're much more selective rather than everyone having an angle.
It got because that what happened got Joe was it got messy. It got messy when it got really messy when you had to like balance like mid Carter like C-level mid Carter number 17 had his own storyline too, and like it was just a lot. It was too much. They centralized a lot of it. Mass, who do I think will be in Money in the Bank? Do we know the venue of Money in the Bank in comparison to
Isn't it an LA show?
I'm saying like is it in the same venue as Worlds Collide? Because
I'll find out right now.
Yeah, because I think I could see Grande Americano wrestling at Worlds Collide and Chad Gable wrestling in Money in the Bank.
Intuit Dome.
Is that also where Worlds Collide will be?
It's not. That is at the Kia Forum.
Austin Kinkle says main event rocks tonight. Is the rundown out? Is that what's going on?
Kayfabe.
He said it's down the street. I could see Chad Gable doing 2 shows. So, other people in the match. I think Mello will be in the match. Naomi will be in the women's one. Roxanne will be in the women's one. Yeah, I can see one of the Seth guys, which at the moment it's just him and Braun. I can see one of them being in the match.
One of the Seth guys.
Yeah, hilarious. I'll tell you what, Joe. I'm liking how active they've been bell to bell. They've wrestled every week, which that's a good sign. It's a good sign. Yeah. Thank you, Mass. Because the alternative was just like them like talking and then like walking away and like that's it. You know?
Right. That's what I thought would happen.
That would have been so shitty.
Give it time.
Well, what'll actually happen is Braun's gonna spear someone too hard and like fucking concuss himself, and then they're like, "All right, Braun, back to pre-tapes." You know,
that was just a joke, guys.
Right. Of course. Hilariously, I'll add this, Joe. So they're already doing a lot of these backstage segments with them, and the dynamic is fascinating because Paul acts like a consultant to Seth and like a mentor to Braun, and the way they portray it is like Seth walks away, and Braun's kind of stroking his chin, and he's just kind of like, "So what's the deal here, Paulie?" And he's just kind of like, "Let me explain it to you, kid." And the dynamic is very much like, "Slow down, kid. I got a plan for this. Follow me at my pace." Because Braun is almost the overzealous guy that wants to pull the trigger at everything.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, because there was a promo segment with Sammy and Seth, and Braun's like he's basically just like death staring Sammy, like he just wants to like smoke him basically. Like he's basically the trigger man that has like the hot his trigger finger itches basically, and Paulie's just kind of massaging his back and talking to him and filling his head with bullshit. But obviously, inevitably, it's gonna snap, and he's gonna like probably smoke Seth Rollins, and it's a matter of delaying that. CN €2. If Sean booked SmackDown, Melo would get pushed. Yes, he would. Ish 999, just to support the pod, even with my bits and satire. We do appreciate you, Ish. Thank you so much. Was that the last super chat?
Seems like it. It seems like it, folks.
So you know what? I'm going to live react to the score of the Nick game right now. I'm going to just type in Knicks on Google and see what the score is.
Have you not watched it all?
So I'm doing this thing where I'm like, I'm just not going to look at it. And I'm going to hope for the best. And then
So why did we go live early?
Because I'm going to look at it at some point. You know? So.
All right, whatever you want, bro.
Well, people are saying Punk's opening. Ooh. You guys got to see that. All right, folks. Worldwide was awesome. Or I actually don't know if it was awesome, but I hope. Yeah.
You were good, bro.
Was I actually? I'm very insecure about the Sabu thing. I hope I didn't just kind of like bore people to tears. You know.
No, it was good. Everyone liked it. Like everyone liked it. I'm not fucking around. Seriously, everyone liked it.
That's good to hear. Everything else, I mean, I don't know. What do you want from us, guys? Anna will be back to carry us next week.
Thank God, bro.
Yeah. I might make her the host. To be honest with you, we'll see how that goes.
What if we like roll? Anna just does a solo next week.
I'll take it.
We just ask Anna to prepare a speech about Sabu.
You know what, folks? She doesn't even know this. I don't even know if she wants to do this. We're making Anna the host next week. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that fucking goes. Oh no, Austin says Punk's hair is nuts. That's scary because Punk has had some insane hair days recently. So we shall see. Appreciate you guys. Joe will do the Alexa pitch next week. We'll delay it. We're gonna create more anticipation. Sabu Taz type beat. We'll see you guys next week. Good night. Raw review tomorrow.